Maybe.
You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast.
All right, folks, welcome to another exciting episode of the Dangerous Liberty Podcast, where we know that safety at the expense of liberty is slavery. We got an excellent, exciting, awesome show for you tonight. I want to say hi to everybody over in the chat. I want to say thank you to all the mods. Yeah, man, you guys are doing great, and I want to wish everybody a happy new year. Over the next couple of days, I am going to put together some member-exclusive content. I just started this membership thing. So I need to get, used to providing you guys some, I got some stuff that I'm going to send you guys. So thank you for becoming a member. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, and also select all. We still get every single show. People say, hey, I didn't get a notification. I'm subscribed. Hopefully selecting all will help with that. The other thing, make sure you go down in the description below. Make sure you're following us on all of our other social media platforms. And we also just started subscriptions on our X. So if you would like to support us in that manner, we really appreciate that as well. I'm going to bring on our guests in just a moment. I'm going to give everybody a little bit of time to kind of filter in. It always takes a few minutes, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I'll give us a little bit of preface to how this conversation got started with Patriot Dad, among others. Just going back at the beginning of the Charlie Kirk assassination, within about 2 weeks, within the first week or so, we started getting this influx of these crazy conspiracies of palm guns, of camera guns, like all these things that I just knew on the face of them was ridiculous. A lot like the Fort Huachuca story. So what I did, I wanted to make sure that people understood what was real and what wasn't. So I started making some videos and outlining like, hey, this is why this palm gun thing doesn't work. The small caliber, it doesn't meet a matchup with the physics that we see. There's other logistics issues going on with that, mechanics that just didn't make sense. And so I put out a video just with that. Candace really wasn't in the picture at the time, and immediately I got this weird attack of hundreds of people in my comments on X, everywhere else, basically saying you're a Fed, you're paid by Israel. This, I don't know, completely psychotic response to like, no, all I'm saying is that it's just, there's no chance that this was a palm gun or a camera gun or whatever else was going on, right? So it grabbed my attention. And then I started going through these accounts, and I saw real quick that these are not real accounts. These are bots. And there again, very suspicious activity, this flood of activity and this flood of oppression. And we're going to get into what that really means and how that plays into the overall algorithms of some of these different platforms. And then, of course, we saw this huge push. I started hearing about these different theories that made no sense to me at all, either. And then I realized that they were coming from Candace Owens, which, again, a month after all this, because I wasn't paying attention to Candace, she was somebody that I really liked. Politically, she'd been sound. I did see the whole thing that she was doing with the Macrons at the time. I just thought it was funny. I didn't know what the validity of it was or not. I have since researched that very in depth, and I see how ridiculous the whole thing is. But I don't care about the Macrons. I don't care if Bridget P. standing up or not. I kind of, I was like rooting for her. I was like, man, I hope she finds out that that's the case, because that's kind of funny, hilarious. But when we start getting that type of information, what we start seeing, what is clearly a psychological operation being perpetrated onto the American people, now I got a real problem with it. And that's the big picture of this. Ultimately, this is not about Candace Owens. What this is about truth. And, the attacks that we've had on truth. When you can control information, and you can convince millions and millions of Americans that something is not true, is true. Like, the game's over. And we as Americans have to wake up and understand what we're facing here, because that is what's going to control your votes. That's what's going to control your support. And that's going to push you in a direction that ultimately may not be, and most likely will not be, in your best interest. So again, I want to say hi to everybody. I'm going to lay out some ground rules that we do with every show. Number one, we absolutely encourage disagreement. I want people that disagree with us to watch this show and to hear what we have to say, listen objectively, and then decide for yourself. That's what I challenge you to do before you get emotionally attached to any one narrative or the other. That being said, what we're not going to put up with is we're not going to put up with disruption. We're not going to put up with ad hominem attacks. We're not going to put up with you accusing people being sold out to Israel or any other cause. There is nothing more important than a man's integrity and a woman's integrity as well. Let me tell you something. Somebody could come over and give me $20 million, and you're not going to change what I believe, what I'm going to say. I just don't care. I care so little about money. Like, it's just dumb. I'm so tired of these types of attacks and smears. It's ridiculous. So we're not going to put up with that. So you do that, you're banned. You can go sit in your echo chamber and you can listen to somebody where you guys, kind of just sit around and agree with each other and come up with the dumbest shit to say. And then everybody high five each other. That's not what we're going to do here. We're going to challenge you. We want to be challenged, and we want to open up at the end of this show. We're going to open it up so that you can engage in the conversation. We're going to be taking your questions. We will be reading your comments. We will prioritize super chats. And most importantly, or at least just as importantly, make sure you go down in the description below and make sure you guys follow Patriot Dad and the Patriot Podcast. These guys are doing excellent work. We're going to be teamed up doing a lot more stuff, and we got a lot more content coming for you that's going to show you clear evidence of what's taking place. So without further ado, I want to welcome all three of our guests on here. Let me get the right screen going here. We got three guests here, and if you guys will, just go ahead and introduce yourselves. Patriot Dad, I'm going to give you the floor first, and then you guys go around the room and then talk about what you guys do.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Patriot Dad here. Those of you guys who spend a lot of time on YouTube, you may not know who I am or who the Patriot Source Podcast is. We just launched our podcast back in September. I think we were at 36 episodes. But where Nam and SK and I generally came from was TikTok. Over the last couple of years, we have spent an enormous amount of time learning how to effectively develop short form content. Spent hours and hours and hours and hours in TikTok live debates, perfecting the ability to make effective arguments and researching. And the three of us have come together and we put together what we call the Patriot Source Podcast. And we're having an absolute blast with it. You can find us all on X, on Instagram, over on TikTok, and now on YouTube. And below me, you may notice, is my twin brother, Nam de Plume. That's Nam. Introduce yourself.
Hello. Yeah. Hi. Nam de Plume. On TikTok at Nam de Plume _1.0 and 2.0, because you have to have backup accounts because your accounts don't last very long over there. Yeah. So Patriot Dad and I have been very deeply interested in politics since 9/11, when I was active duty on Camp Lejeune when it happened. So this is something that we've been doing for a long time. Just now came out from behind the camera about a year ago.
That's right. And then there's SK. SK is the secret weapon. If you guys don't know who SK is, you've probably seen her research because it is used by some of the most important X accounts on the entire platform. She is one of the best researchers probably in the entire country. The stuff that SK finds and develops is going to change the future of this country. I'm telling you, she's incredible. SK, introduce yourself. Oh, I see you got the rosy cheeks.
I do.
Did I embarrass you?
Yeah, I do. Native American, by the way.
Okay.
I have red skin.
That's right.
Yeah, I research a lot. I started debating on TikTok. I've been involved in politics my entire life. My parents were very political. They talked about politics a lot. Grew up driving around in the car with my parents, listening to Paul Harvey and things like that. Oh, there's my dog. Yeah. So, and I'm very involved in politics locally. And then I stumbled across TikTok political debates, and I was like, where has this been my entire life? And I started debating politics on TikTok and did so every day during 2024. And then I kind of got burned out, and we started this podcast, and I research, post on X, do the podcast, and I get on TikTok every now and then, but I hate making videos. I hate being on camera. I hate all of this. I just like talking about what I know.
I need to help you guys understand the level of detail that this incredible researcher does. I first was introduced to SK when I stumbled across a TikTok live, and she had gotten her hands on court documents, on actual court transcripts. What case was it that you were reading the first time?
The first time was the hush money case. I read every word of the transcripts of the hush money case. And then I read every word of transcripts from the Hunter Biden, Delaware 4473 form case. And I know that inside and out because I purchased those transcripts from the court, and they were emailed to me every day at the end of testimony, rough draft, unredacted, like addresses and information and everything. I didn't say that out loud on live, by the way. I'm at least respectful. But yeah, I read it all.
Every word. For every TikToker that wanted to see it could see every single word. That's the level of detail that this woman goes to. And that's what we develop our podcast on.
And it made a lot of people very mad, by the way.
Very mad.
That she was reading that.
For some reason, the truth and just obvious facts pissed a lot of people off. And I just want to give everybody a little bit of background on how this entire thing happened. And, I first started talking to Patriot Dad up there. Look, over the last couple of weeks, I've been really putting it out there. Like, look, man, I'm seeing something happen that's inorganic with Candace Owens, amongst others. And I'm seeing something very inorganic happen down in my comment section, replies to me. They're almost copy and paste time and time again. And then you go to these accounts and they're either brand new. Typically what you're looking at, the key thing here that what you often see is that it is a very low follower account, but that's not the only thing. The other part of that is you start going through their timelines, you look at their profile, and it's clear that that is not a real human being. It's just obvious the way that they're, what they're reposting, the things that they say or don't say. You start seeing what's going on. And the same thing with different accounts that are just trolling my comment section on YouTube. So I started putting that information out, not really having, just telling people, hey, look, this is a feeling that I have. This is an observation I have. I don't have a lot of evidence behind this. Haven't had a chance to research this. And then Patriot Dad reached out to me. He was like, let me tell you something. Not only you're right, this is exactly what we've been researching, and we have the evidence. So I was like, game on. Let's get together. Let's talk about this, and let's continue to work together. Because one of the things that we were talking about right before the show started is the fact that the left is extremely organized. On the right, we tend to be more independent people, just in general. So you have this account over here fighting a good fight. You got this account over here fighting a good fight. But we're not as organized and coordinated. And that's what we need on the right. And that's what I want to put together. Really from the beginning of this venture was like, hey, you know what? We need to put together a coalition of people that are honest. We don't have to agree. I think disagreement is good in these types of efforts, right? So that we can sanity check one another and say, you know what? This doesn't make sense because of this. And because the left, they're extremely organized. You see how organized they are with Candace, with all of her downstreamers, with her surrogates, the surrogates. They are putting out all of this information on cue. They're having these meetings. They have coordinated, controlled, and paid for rallies and protests. Look, they're kicking our ass with the information. The information war is being won by the left, and they shouldn't be, because everybody on the right, we have truth on our side. We're a lot smarter. All right. We can make this thing happen, but we got to get it organized, and we got to understand the threat that we're facing, and then get together and move from there. So I just want to welcome all you guys. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing the information that you guys have been sharing with me, and as we share it with our viewers, and hopefully your viewers are tuned in as well. I'm excited about the show. So let's kick it off.
Let's do it. Hey, can I just add real quick?
Whatever,
Gary, we're also much better looking, and we're much better at this than they are. And that's the problem. You see, that's the thing that people need to understand. We've been tracking the color revolution for about the last year or so or longer, tracking it deeply, trying to understand the forces, the networks, the organizations, the NGOs, the money, the people, everybody involved in the color revolution to transform the United States into a communist crap hole. And I do not use those words lightly. That is exactly what has been underway for well over a decade, extensively and much longer in ways that are a little bit less obvious. And what we have been able to identify, at least over the last several months, is a massive, massive, massive network of organizations and people that want to do some awful things to this country, awful things, transform the country in ways that you wouldn't even recognize it again. But you see, where we come from, Nam and SK over on TikTok, we're actually used to engaging with these types of bot accounts, these types of troll accounts, these types of sock puppet accounts, because the algorithm over there works very differently. So if you have a presence on that platform, you are very used to this concept of mass report campaigns. So it was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago that we caught wind of the fact that there was already organization happening on the left in Discord servers and in Reddit channels of groups of people who were coming together on the radical left, and they were intentionally trying to silence content creators on the right because our messages were working. Folks, one of the reasons why Donald Trump won 2024, Charlie Kirk was one of them, but we were another one because we were doing the hard work in the place where the young generations were getting their information and countering the propaganda that lived on that platform for so long. We found their Discord servers. We found their Reddit channels. As a matter of fact, I ended up getting doxxed back in January because we found it.
And Patriot Dad, real quick, I just want to interrupt you. This is a really important point of this. For whatever reason, we on the conservative side of the country have a lot more to lose. We're the ones that are out there building businesses. We're the ones out there paying taxes so that these people can live off of us. And for some reason, those on the left are much more passionate about this fight than we are. And it's going to take a lot more individuals like you guys, whether you're doing it on your own, you're finding a cohesive group that you can get together with. But the average person out there, folks, you got to start fighting. And what we're going to be talking about tonight is what's known as the fourth generation warfare. And we are on a battlefield right now. Information is the weapon. And we've got to get out there. You guys got to stand up. You got to be brave. You got to speak your mind, and you got to get involved. And whether that's like so many individuals out there, you can contribute so much more than you think, other than just sharing a meme. Like you got to start fighting for your country. And it doesn't take a lot of effort, and you kind of ease into things. But the point here is the more of us individuals get involved, the better off we are, because the left they got nothing but time. They don't have jobs. They sit there and, are collecting unemployment, and they're eating Cheetos from their EBT card, and they're getting work done. And we got to start fighting back. Well,
and a lot of times they're getting paid, Gary. They're getting paid to do a lot of what they're doing. I mean, we have to understand that, the billions and billions and billions of dollars that Mike Benz and others have tracked through USAID, through these NGOs, all that money is now flowing directly back into this color revolution that's operating inside of our own country, right? So they're not doing a lot of this for free. They are being paid to do this. So, I mean, this is their job. While we're trying to build businesses, this is the business they're building. And they're getting rich as hell doing it.
Yeah.
Nothing they do is organic on the left, and the right is mostly organic, and that is part of it. And we have to realize that we have to come together. We have to focus on American values, and we have to focus on the Constitution, and we have to rally standing on the Constitution under the American flag. And we need to come together under those values and set the differences that we have right now aside. We can work that out later, because this is a battle over keeping our Constitution and our country, period, the end.
That's right. And here's the key. The effort that you're seeing on social media right now is specifically designed to make sure that cannot happen. They will not allow the MAGA movement to organize in a way that will turn itself back into the most powerful political movement probably in the history of the world, because they know that if they do, their color revolution will never be successful. This
Speaking
is the
of
reason.
color revolution, real quick,
Yep.
if you, not everybody understands that term. If you guys will, somebody just define that so people understand what we're talking about when we talk about a color revolution.
Who wants to take that? I'll take it. You want me to?
You can take it if you want to, or you
All
want me
right.
to start and you can like
Yeah,
give details.
you go ahead and take it, and then I'll add in the details because
Yeah, there
SK
you
knows
go.
the stuff in and out.
The color revolution is best described, in my opinion. Think about what the United States has done overseas over the years. Look at Ukraine. Look at what happened with the Orange Revolution, or they also have one that they call the Revolution of Dignity, which also ties into this whole network, by the way. But they've done it in North Africa. They've done it all over the world. The regime change situations, the defending democracy, the spreading of democracy. Right now, you have a lot of federal employees that have been let go, entire agencies shut down, like the U.S. Institute of Peace, like USAID. Those employees that are used to working in other countries with foreign aid and media spreading propaganda to push what the United States wants in that country, as far as spreading what we've always considered to be democracy, and thinking that we're doing good in other countries by spreading this democracy. Those people have now focused their attention on the United States, and they are using the tactics and everything that they've learned throughout their entire careers and schooling to be able to try a regime change in the United States. They did it a little bit in 2020 with the Summer of Love things, but now it's gotten to a point where they are actually working for a regime change, and they don't just want that. They want to change the structure of this country, because they use words like democratic backsliding. They use, if anybody watches Mike Benz at all, you're going to know a lot of the key words, but the Democrat backsliding is something that they talk about a lot. And it's all of these huge NGOs. It's a lot of the foundations, the Carnegie Endowment. You have Catherine Kleinfeld with her, all the papers she's written about democracy. You have the Tucci's of the world, the Danielle Reefs of the world. You have all these people that are working. They've organized tens of thousands of organizations together under one umbrella, and they're working together in order to implement regime change. And you guys
and
can
ultimately, and I guess the simplest definition is a nonviolent regime change through psychological operations, information operations, so that they're just moving us into a direction that we don't want, which is exactly what we've done overseas, where we're causing instability, and then we come in and we're there to help. Which,
fix it.
Yeah, and this is exactly what they're doing. Look what's happening to the right. Look how fractured the right has become just through a very simple information operation through Candace Owens. She's completely splintered the right. And now we have a bunch of people that are coming in that are clearly have ties to Antifa, among others, leftists, never Trumpers. Like, that is actually what makes up the bulk of Candace's audience. And people need to realize what's going on with that.
That's right.
They're NPCs. I say that a lot. I say these are the MSNPC parrots. They just parrot what they hear. They don't research anything. They don't think for themselves. They have zero discernment at all whatsoever. And it's okay to question. You should be questioning. Even the candidate you support, including Donald Trump, whom I support 100%, I ask questions, and I don't agree with him 100% of the time. I support him 100% of the time, but I do not agree with him 100% of the time. I'm an American. I support our president, but I do not agree with him all the time. That does not mean I do not 100% support him.
And have any of you spent your day going to, I don't know, websites and YouTube channels that you don't like and just trolling all day long on that? Like, that's what they want to shut down this discussion. Like, we sit here and we talk about, like, I have real problems, fundamental issues, and I show evidence of the issues that I have with Candace, amongst others. Like, she's just kind of front and center at the moment. I'm tired of hearing her name, to be honest with you. But we actually have, like, real arguments, as opposed to just going to Candace Owens and saying, "Oh, I don't know, you love the Jews or you love Islam. Like, it just hundreds of Republicans go into these people they disagree with and just trolling their pages and their channels. Like, that's not what we do. And it's obvious what's happening. And most people don't do this, by the way. So it is the people like you're talking about, NPCs, the real people. And then, of course, we have these bots and these sock puppet accounts. And it's just bonkers, man.
And I will say, you have to understand that the real people that are going along with these things and parroting these things, they are using tactics on these people. You can put actual evidence in front of their face and they will completely disregard the actual evidence that proves what they're saying is wrong to go along with their beliefs. They cannot, in their brains, somehow comprehend that what they think is true is not true. And it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And it's part of this Marxist, communist, this is what's going on in the United States. It's all these groups. You have the Cuba influence, the Venezuela, the Iranian influence, the China influence. You have all of these different countries with this communist, socialist, Marxist ideals. And these people, the same people from like the 60s, you have the Black Panthers, and you have all of these communist, the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, the Communist Party of the United States, the Democratic Socialists of America. These people, their tactics, they are going to silence speech. They're going to, disarm. And they find a way to be able to make people completely disregard actual evidence in front of their face. And that's what's happening. And we're watching it play out in real time.
Well, and the thing is, it's not an accident. It's intentional. So what I want to do is maybe try to get us back on track, because we want to talk a little bit about the strategy that's being used today, specifically with inside the what I call the Candyland cult narrative. But it's used everywhere. You see, the color revolution tactics have actually been in full force since the day that Donald Trump stepped in office, but it's evolved pretty significantly. You see, back in the day, the Democrats used to be able to try to shift public perspective or perception through the normal course of business, protest. They would get a bunch of people in the street and they would use the media to highlight very specific, very tailored, very intentionally presented images and narratives to try to change your perspective of something. So you saw that start right around the Tesla takedowns. Remember when all of the retirees, the government employees, they all decided to, or at least they answered emails from their union reps to say, hey, we'll pay you $25 if you go stand out in front of a Tesla dealership, to whatever reason, oppose the idea of cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. That was a tactic that they thought the color revolution was going to be successful with. And then the problem is that people started realizing that, hey, you got a bunch of 60, 70, and 80-year-old people there. That doesn't look like a very diverse group of people. And it didn't help change things at all. So then they shifted to, let's start doing nationwide protests. Let's do the No Kings protests. Let's schedule protests all throughout the spring and the summer. And we'll tell everybody that these protests are the biggest protest in the American or in the history of the country. We'll show you images of massive crowds. And the problem is, now we're really good at identifying when they're lying to people. So it would take 3, 4, or 5 seconds for someone like me to pull up a picture of a crowd in Boston, run it through some type of diagnostic and say, hey, that was a picture that was taken 4 years ago. You're lying to people. And then the other piece of that is, cameras were scanning the crowds and they weren't getting the right people out. They weren't able to get organizations like BLM into the streets. It looked like a bunch of old hippies showing up at all of these protests, and it wasn't effective. So they've constantly had to shift and change their strategy over the last year or so. They've been doing things like lawfare campaigns since the day that Donald Trump stepped in office. You've got people like Mark Elias, who was one of the most despicable, horrible attorneys probably in the history of this country, who's involved in so many different just awful, illegal, disgusting attacks on our voting rights, on the Constitution, on the rule of law, on the constitutional republic. You've got Norm Eisen, who should probably be in prison right now, has leading the effort to stop and slow down Donald Trump every step of the way. But at the same time, what they were doing is they were organizing online, because they knew that they lost the digital warfare, the digital war in the run up to the 2024 election. They lost it. We won it. So they've been organizing online. Now, what I want to do is I want to maybe set some definitions for us so that you understand as we jump into this, because it's really important that we get our language correct. So you guys have all heard the term bot accounts. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of times we use the term bot account incorrectly. So I want to define for you what a bot account is so that you know what it is. And the reality is, it is very unlikely that you are actually engaging with a bot account on social media. Bot accounts are automated online accounts, which is run by software or scripts. They're designed to perform repetitive tasks at scale, like posting, liking, spamming with some comments here and there, but there's almost no human involvement at all. And the thing is, when you're in a comment section of a video and you are engaging with somebody that looks like it's an account that's not a real account, and you start calling it a bot account and they start responding to you in actual language, meaning there's a cognitive being behind it, you kind of lose to the steam. You lose a little bit of credibility because obviously it's not a bot account. But then there's the other type of account. This is probably the most effective in the digital warfare game that they are playing right now. It's what's called a sock puppet account or a troll account. I'm sure you've heard of those. A troll account, a sock puppet account, is a fake online identity which was manually created and operated by a real person, and it's meant specifically to deceive people. They're often used to artificially support their own views, to troll or manipulate discussions while hiding their true identity. Now, SK, Nam, myself, and a whole bunch of incredible researchers over the years have actually infiltrated their Discord servers. We've actually seen them organizing and planning things on TikTok, like mass report campaigns to try to get some of the bigger creators have their entire platforms taken away from them. We've seen them do this. And what we know is that one person can have literally hundreds and hundreds of sock puppet accounts, hundreds of them. So why is that important? Because what the left has learned is that they can literally, with a group of 10 or 15 people, they can shape the entire narrative that the country's talking about. And that is what's playing out in the comment section of the post that you're seeing online today. You are seeing a deluge of sock puppet accounts who are there intentionally to try to shape the conversation. Now, I will say this. I am not at all convinced that Candace Owens is even aware of this. Maybe she's aware of it. I don't think she's engaging with organizations or companies or people to do this. She doesn't have to. And you see, that's the point, is these guys understand they all work together and they will continue to work together because they have the same goal. The goal is to divide the MAGA base, the most effective organization to stop them from their color revolution. And what makes Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA the most important target for this digital warfare campaign? It's simple. Donald Trump would not be in office today were it not for Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk.
That is absolutely,
he would not be in office.
That is absolutely true, and it's quantifiable. Like we know that Charlie Kirk has been attributed in TPUSA, been attributed with 2.5 million votes. We beat Kamala Harris by 2.3 million votes. And so that is why he ended up being targeted. That is why he was been killed. And not just because of the votes. It's also because he was the most effective voice against their ideology.
He was changing a generation, Gary, an entire generation.
These people put ideology above everything else. So that's what was going on. And not to mention, look, Charlie Kirk was not only effective against leftist ideology, but, you know, it's kind of adjacent is the Trans-Tifa ideology. And not only is that something they believe in for a multitude of reasons, I don't even know if they believe in it, but they use that as a tool. But more importantly, or just as importantly, that is $1 billion industry. And when he is cutting into that, now we have real money at stake here. And these people are passing legislation that allow, you know, gender transitioning of the youngest of kids, hormone replacement for 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds. It's insanity. And he was the one that was very effective at bringing that to the fore. And that, along with everything else he was doing, made him enemy number one. And he was obviously a much softer target than someone like Donald Trump that had a full, security detail provided by the Secret Service. That's very different and much easier to get to than a president of the United States.
Real quick, SK, before you jump in, guys, look, I'm going to encourage you, if you have not yet subscribed to our podcast channel over on YouTube at Patriot Source Podcast, go do it right now. We started mapping this entire conversation around episode 6 in explicit detail, why Charlie Kirk needed to be removed from the playing field. He was the most effective person at changing an entire generation. I'm not talking about just a few people. He was changing a generation. He was bringing young men back into church. He was turning the country into a more conservative country. He had to be removed. We've documented all of this. We've mapped it all extensively. Go watch starting at episode 6. I'm telling you, it'll make more sense if you sit and take the time to understand why he needed to be removed and why it's so important for the radical left to make sure that Turning Point USA can never be that effective again. There's a midterm coming up. That is the reason he needs to stay, and his organization needs to stay off the board.
Yep. Understand that Charlie Kirk prepared his organization to be able to continue to function as efficiently, as effectively as they always did without him, right? So you take Charlie Kirk as the leader, as the head of that organization off the board. He had already prepared and put people into place. He put plans into place and strategy into place for that organization to continue to operate precisely as it had to get out the vote. And now they have to destroy the organization itself.
Yep.
That's what you're watching play out right now. You're watching the overt destruction of Turning Point USA, which President Trump and the MAGA movement must rely on in the 2026 midterms and 2028, frankly.
And it is very important to emphasize here when talking about the trans Tifa people that I don't know if you guys saw when Data Republican exposed that Ermia Finian, the leader of Armed Queers SLC, Salt Lake City, had received an award from Utah Global Diplomacy, which is a State Department funded organization in part. They also raise some of the money on their own, but a lot of the funding, about $700,000 a year, comes directly from our State Department. Every single winner of these awards, which is the 7 for 17 award, is these, I call them radical activists, but they are pushing the UN Sustainable Development Goals in a way that makes them recognizable. And then they are given funding to continue their work in their award. And Ermia Finian received this in 2022. And right now I'm working on a thread for X that'll probably come out about Monday or so with a lot of the other winners, because Utah Global Diplomacy completely wiped all of that information from the internet. When I found that information and passed it on to Data Republican for her to share with the world, the US government came out and publicly cut ties with Utah Global Diplomacy, except for the fact that they didn't. And this is all a part of the radical pipeline. The president and CEO of Utah Global Diplomacy that's handing out the awards to these trans Tifa kids, these radical activists that all have the same exact resumes, almost to the T. This person is the president and CEO at Utah Global Diplomacy and is also on the board of Global Ties US, which is like the main organization over the entire United States. So even though the State Department cut ties with Utah Global Diplomacy, they still have the president and CEO of Utah Global Diplomacy on the board at Global Ties US. So this is part of the radicalization pipeline. And when you see all of these people that have won these awards, most of them are trans. They're all pushing the LGBTQ plus stuff. They all work at the same places in Utah. They all are a part of the same organizations in Utah. And you have Ermia Finian with the Armed Queers that go to all of the protests for their peacekeeping efforts, but also involved in all of the activism for all the other things, Palestine, all of the LGBTQ plus whatever organizations and issues. Any women's rights issues. I watched interviews today with these people where they're giving whole interviews, and these are men sitting there looking like men, not even like down the line of transition, talking about women's rights. This
That's
is where
right.
we're at in this radicalization pipeline. Utah is the center, and Charlie Kirk was calling out the UN and this radicalization pipeline, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and how it has taken over everything in this country at your state level, your local level. You will be shocked when you learn how far in the UN is in your state. Doesn't matter if it's a solid red state. The UN is all up in your local and state government. All of these sustainable development goals are being pushed, but Utah is ground zero, and Charlie Kirk knew that, and Charlie Kirk was making that known.
And
I
folks,
wanted-
I know this gets a little bit
Big.
deep into the weeds, but it's really important that you understand how far this goes and how far these tentacles have wrapped themselves into, just like she said, local, state, federal government, different groups, religious groups, and everything else. And Charlie did understand this, and he understood what we were up against, and that's why he was out there fighting and debating these policies every single day, and that's ultimately why they killed him.
That's right. So real quick, I want to try to tie a bow on what SK was just saying so that you understand that we're not just throwing all this stuff out there and hoping something sticks. At the very beginning of our investigation after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, it became pretty obvious that there was a handful of online accounts, probably sock puppet accounts, who had foreknowledge of Charlie Kirk's assassination. There was probably 6, maybe 8 or 10 accounts that had posted days in advance of his assassination, specifically saying the date that it was going to happen. And one of those accounts, somebody found, I don't know if it was 0 Hour, I don't know, it may have been SK, I'm not sure who it was, but one of those accounts posted a picture of a trans person indicating that they knew who this person was. And come to find out, it is this person named Ermia Fanayan. So you keep hearing this name, Ermia Fanayan, Ermia Fanayan. Ermia Fanayan is the link between the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Trans Tifa, and the entire networks that SK is talking about. And why is this relevant? This is relevant because this information, this research has been personally handed to Candace Owens, and she's ignoring it. And what started my investigation and to try to understand what was happening in this digital landscape over the last couple of weeks is I put a post out on X lamenting the fact that Lisa Logan, who was on our podcast a week or so before that, had told us that the information that her and SK and Data Republican and others have been digging up was handed to Candace Owens and it's being ignored. I commented about that in a video post on X. And usually when I post on X, I get nothing but positive responses. I have a pretty loyal following over there. It's a growing account. But for some reason, this particular post was different. I started to notice the same type of activity that I see generally over on TikTok, because I'm a targeted account over there, happening on this particular account. And I thought it was interesting. I said, wait a minute, I'm seeing the same type of sock puppet accounts that exist on TikTok are now in my comment section over here on X. And they're focusing on the notion that actual information related to the assassination of Charlie Kirk was handed to Candace Owens and she's ignoring it. Somebody did not want that video to make it beyond just a few thousand views. Someone decided that that video, that information was not allowed to be communicated. So I started digging. I started researching. Now, I'm not a statistician. I like to pretend I am. I'm pretty good with data. And I understand how to use Grok and AI to try to analyze what I'm seeing. So that's what I did. So I decided to take that particular video and I started using Grok to look at the content of that video to see what type of engagement that I was having. And what was really interesting is that through the comment section, I was seeing the same scripts over and over and over again. And Gary talked about that. The same types of scripts. I was seeing people who were aggressively defending Candace, were aggressively defending this idea of Mitch Snow or Harry Myers or Mike Snow, whatever his name is. I was seeing comments about accusations of me being a shill for Israel, which is the strangest thing because I have as many criticisms of Israel as just about anybody else does. And I don't really even talk about it because honestly, Israel's not that important to me. I was being accused of being paid off. The $7,000 comments were showing up in there. I was clout chasing. All of that stuff showed up. So what I did next is I went to Grok and I said, Grok, can you take this particular post? Can you analyze it and tell me what percentage of the comments in this post have identifiers of what's called sock puppets? And Grok spit out and he said that 60% of the comments in that post were in fact sock puppet accounts. These are not fake accounts. Well, they are fake accounts, but remember, they are accounts that were created by somebody and are managed by somebody with the specific purpose of trying to shape a narrative. I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I've got about 60% of comments in this particular post that are coming from the same type of Discord server organized campaigns that I'm used to seeing over on TikTok is now over here on X. And I thought it would be even more interesting to see if I was going to get the same type of results if I looked at other people's posts. Now, you guys have probably heard, I know I've heard that we're seeing some larger creators like Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens and other people who are benefiting from bot campaigns. And I think I've heard upwards of 70% of the amplification that you see in their message is actually coming from artificial bot accounts and bot farms. So I thought it would be interesting to go pull up a sample of Candace Owens' posts on X between 12/28 and 12/31. I wanted to look at a 3-day sample. And the reason for that is because there was a lot of activity going on. We were starting to see the Mitch Snow narrative collapse. Gary was doing some incredible reporting on it. We had other people that were doing interesting things like starting to step away from her. And it was a rapidly changing environment. And I wanted to understand, is Candace also benefiting from the same type of engagement or being harmed from it? And what I found when I analyzed her post over 12/28 to 12/31, a 3-day period, is that only about 20% of her comments were actually coming from sock puppet accounts. So I was seeing 60%, she was seeing 20%. I wasn't ready for that. I was not expecting to see that type of result. I was expecting to see these sock puppets in her comment section actually amplifying in a positive way her message, but they weren't. They just weren't there. Only about 20%, whereas I was seeing 60% in mine. Now, next, because I wanted to keep going because I was like, this is really intriguing me, right? We're expecting to see amplification from this inorganic digital warfare campaign, and I'm not really seeing that in her comment section. But instead, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing an effort to use these sock puppet accounts to challenge people who disagree with her. And I thought that was strange. So the next one that I went to, Namr, do you have the ability to start pulling up a couple of screenshots for us here? Can we do this?
I've got some loaded. Tell me what you need. I can't pull them up. I think the producer on the backside can pull them up, or Gary.
Gary, are you able to pull up?
What do you need?
Pick one.
Yeah, pick one's loaded.
One. So one of the things that was really interesting to me is right about the same time, you were starting to see some of the bigger influencers who have been ardent supporters of Candace Owens over the last couple of weeks and months, people who were helping to drive her narratives, who were engaging with her heavily. One of them in particular is this account right here, a guy by the name of Evan Kilgore. Everyone knows who Evan is. Evan put out a post effectively saying, I don't know if I can continue along down the path with Candace on this Mitch Snow narrative. And the reason for that is because he started doing his own investigation. He started actually looking into some of the stories that we were hearing about him being a 30-year con man and having multiple active protection orders out on him. And he was talking with the victims. So he put out a post. Can you show up picture 2 real quick? He put out this post right here. You guys probably all remember it. It went viral. When I pulled this post up 2 days ago, it had 1.4 million views on it. 2.5 thousand comments. And what was fascinating is I was seeing the same type of engagement in that post. Somebody who has been an ardent supporter of Candace this entire time, one of her biggest supporters, started to see the same type of engagement I was seeing in my post. So I had Grok run the same analysis, and I was seeing the same scripts. I was seeing aggressive defense of Candace, aggressive defense of Mitch Snow. I was seeing accusations that he got the call, that he was getting his $7,000, that he bent the knee, that he was being a shill. All the same scripts that I saw in my post, for the first time, Evan was seeing in his post. And I had Grok run an analysis. Tell me, Grok, what percentage of the comments in this post are from sock puppets based on the identifiers? 60%. 60% of the comments in that post were from sock puppets. I bet you he has not ever seen 60% of his comments as sock puppets, particularly as he's been engaging in Candace Owen narratives. Why? Because I believe that these sock puppets are in fact not interested in necessarily pushing her conspiracy theories, but making sure that nobody else can challenge her conspiracy theories. And then I went a little bit further, because we all know that Gary is probably the most important YouTuber to have dismantled the entire narrative that Mitch Snow was selling with the Fort Huachuca story. I think, Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, but you and a couple of other people were the ones who started bringing on the actual victims, platforming the people who have been harmed by Mitch Snow, the people who have protective orders on them. So I had Grok.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, I started bringing on his victims so people could hear their story and hear what was going on. You know, he had put out a narrative on Kat Espinda's podcast about how he was such a victim from all these women.
Yep.
And when I started talking to the different ex-wives, to the children, like, it was just so obvious and clear to me that this was a repeated cycle of person after person after person being victimized by Mitch Snow, and all of their stories were the same. And these people haven't talked to each other. All right. Wife 1, 2, and 3, they've never even spoken to one another before this. Mm-hmm. So, you know, hearing the exact same stories and how that Mitch was able to turn each of his current relationship, whatever woman he was with, he was able to turn her against, with using a bunch of bad information, was able to turn that person against his previous and make himself out to be a victim. And it was just a clear pattern of behavior, of psychological manipulation that, you know, I wanted people to hear that.
Yep. Gary, you can take this down now.
Yep.
And let me ask you this. So what do you think the impact of you platforming those women was? Because I looked at your post also. I pulled up your post over a same 3-day period. I had Grok analyze all of your content from December 28th to December 31st. You want to take a wild guess at what the impact was?
I would be remiss to guess.
The exact same impact that Evan saw and I saw. The exact same impact. The same scripts, the same accusations, the same everything. 60% of the comments in his content from 1228 to 1231 were from accounts that Grok identified as sock puppets based on the identifiers that Grok uses to analyze it. 60%. So what is very clearly going on here is that there is an organized campaign to send sock puppet accounts, not necessarily in to promote her content. They're doing that through bots, I believe, but to make sure that you can't effectively challenge her content. And look, here's the thing though. If you understand how the algorithms on different platforms work, they work differently. On TikTok, that type of campaign would downvote that particular post and nobody would see it. That's not the purpose on X. X does not give you, doesn't impact you positively or negatively if you have positive or negative comments in there. It's a psychological strategy, because what happens is when people come into the comments and they start reading it and they see a majority of those comments are people who are saying negative things about your perspective, it's going to cause them to do a couple things. First of all, you as a normal person are thinking, wow, wait a minute. I thought I agreed with this guy, but it seems like most of the people in the comments doesn't. Maybe I'm wrong. Or it's potentially going to get someone like Gary or Evan or me or anybody else who's been a victim of these types of accounts to say, I don't really like the way I'm being treated. I'm just not going to talk about this anymore. It's designed specifically to tamp down criticism of a narrative that the organized effort is designing to push into the public sphere. They want this controversy that Candace Owens and the Candyland cult is creating, because they don't want you talking about the success that we're seeing in the economy. They want your time spent on social media, on X, focusing on the Epstein files, because they don't want you thinking about the fact that GDP has exceeded 4% every quarter since Donald Trump walked back in office. They don't want you talking about the fact that gas prices are at almost historic lows over the last number of years. They don't want you talking about that. Instead, they want you arguing with people in the comment section about whether you got $7,000 for a post about Israel. That's the goal.
It's a quick, cheap, and easy smear. Like nobody wants to listen to somebody if you even think there's a possibility that they're being paid by some outside source. Like I get it. I understand how effective it is. And especially when you hear it repeated over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
So,
I got a little bit more to run through with you, Gary. This is really, sorry, SK, go ahead. SK,
No.
I just wanted to say really quick, I was looking at the comments, and there have been several comments saying we know who the shooter is and, what happened that day as far as the actual action. I just want to point out and make it clear that I'm not saying that we don't believe that Tyler Robinson was on that roof and pulled that trigger and was responsible for the actual death of Charlie Kirk. The investigation that I've been doing is into the organizations and the influence behind what caused this, because this is a broader issue across our entire country, and that's where it has to be stopped. So yes, the person that pulled the trigger is behind bars. I do believe that. And I think that the ballistics speak for themselves. I think the people that are trying to debunk ballistics without even having all of that information is crazy. And here in a little while, if you'd like, I have actual proof from Thanksgiving Day that my 12-year-old shot a deer, and the 30-06 he used from 30 yards away did not exit the deer, and it was just a small buck. I have photos of all of it. I have the actual round. I have all of the information about the actual ammunition. We can share that in a little bit, but I just would like to make it clear that not a single one of us bringing up this information about this radicalization pipeline and things like that are inferring that Tyler Robinson did not pull the trigger. No,
I think what we're inferring is that we absolutely do not believe that he acted alone.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm pretty confident that he not only was radicalized in a very intentional way, and there was a very clear network of people who obviously knew what he was doing and helped him with it. That's the allegation that I have.
Exactly. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, no, and I've said the exact same thing from day one. I said, look, we need to look into who radicalized this guy, what happened. And again, there's some speculation there, but I think that it is very unlikely that he acted this out in a vacuum for sure. And
Agree.
I do think whether we're looking at Thomas Crooks or we're looking at Tyler Robinson or we're looking at some of these other trans mass shooters, there is a link there. And one of those links is the fact that we don't know anything about their digital footprint. And yeah, we have this excuse, and I think there's some validity to it. Like, we got to keep some information under wraps as far as the Utah authorities have to keep some information under wraps because we do have a death penalty case. And I get that. That same excuse cannot be applied to Thomas Crooks. That same excuse cannot be applied to some of these other trans shooters that are now dead that we know nothing about. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple of reasons behind that or justifications that you could play out, either that the government's involved or the government knows what's going on and they don't want to tell the American people, maybe because they're investigating that.
That's what I would argue. I would actually argue there's information here that we should know. There are connections, there are communications, there is digital footprints that we should know, but they are not, the government, FBI, the DOJ is not going to give us the information of an active investigation. So it's easy for me to believe that Thomas Crooks was radicalized and had communications with a lot of the same people, the same organizations, the same Discord channels, the same Reddit groups, all of the same furry nonsense that we've seen play out here. That the reason we don't have a lot of this information is because they're tying it together. They're connecting this all together. So when someone like Candace Owens or somebody else comes on, comes out there, is like, we demand this information. Well, I mean, you can demand it all you want. The FBI is not going to give it to you if there's an active investigation going on. They're just not going to.
Well, in the case of the FBI, in the case of the FBI, they're not even the ones in charge of the Utah investigation.
That's right.
It's a state level investigation.
Yeah.
They're
providing support. That's it.
And by the way, Utah's rules and regulations regarding evidence in trials like this are much stricter even than what the FBI has. That's
right.
That's something that Robert Barnes talked about that I wasn't aware. He talked about that. I researched it after the show. I was like, oh, that is interesting. So that is part of the problem there, or at least. But the biggest problem that I have with the likes of Candace Owens is the fact that they won't even entertain that idea that there's something else going on with Tyler Robinson. What they've been doing from the beginning of this is declaring him innocent, and that all the evidence that we actually have, the only evidence in the case, because there is no evidence that supports any one of her single theories, all the evidence, the physical evidence that we have in this case is completely made up. Tyler Robinson is completely innocent, or if he is involved, he's just an unwilling patsy. All these excuses and obfuscation and distraction away from that. And they want you to look over here, look at the Egyptian plains. Like, for the people out there with common sense, that alone should be an indicator of what is actually taking place. And that is everything that she's doing is a distraction from the real issues that we have with this entire case, and cases in the past, and cases that we're going to see in the future as well.
That's right. That's right.
If you wanted to try to build the reasonable doubt case for the defense, you would not do anything different than what Candace Owens has done live on her podcast every day.
Agreed.
Without evidence.
Agreed.
There's no evidence to support any of it.
That's right. All right. I got another layer of this analysis that I'll run through really quickly, because look, if it was just a matter of having a bunch of low follower, faceless sock puppet accounts showing up in the comments, that would be one thing, right? Because there's a lot of people that float around on X that want to be anonymous. They don't really post anything. They just play around in the comments. That's a very real phenomenon. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to make a strong case. Yeah, I see that. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to make a strong case that this is this is a coordinated, inorganic event that we're seeing. So I actually asked Grok to do some additional analysis for us. So what I wanted Grok to do is take all of the posts that I have been analyzing, and I wanted him to pull it all together and start identifying specific account names and account handles. And I asked Grok to create a CSV file for me so that I could download it and I could start playing with it. And what was interesting is Grok was kind of moving a little bit slow and was only spitting out like small chunks of information at a time. By the time that we got done, there were literally hundreds of IDs engaged in this 3-day exercise, right? So 3 days worth of content, hundreds and hundreds of sock accounts that showed up. So Grok started spitting out line after line after line of this CSV. And when we got to 65, things started to slow down. He was moving much, much slower. All right. So I stopped at 65 and I just looked at the data, and here's what I found. Well, by the way, I also had Grok create some headers for me, some different columns. I wanted to see what's the follower account. I wanted to see the age of the account. And I also wanted to see if there was any cross-topic posting going on. I wanted to be able to evaluate whether or not these accounts existed solely to communicate or comment on Candace Owens' focused content, or if they were just out there engaged in just stirring up trouble. And here's what I found. 74% were accounts that had been opened in the last 120 days. Oh, excuse me. 74% of the 65 accounts had been opened in the last 120 days. 74%, 3/4 of these accounts were accounts that were just opened in the last 4 months. That's crazy. That is not organic people opening new accounts and then just deciding they wanted to jump in and start rage posting on people's comment section. That's not how people behave. That's not normal behavior. 22% of these accounts had 0 cross-topic comments at all, meaning they weren't commenting on anything related to immigration, economics, none of it. All of their posts were focused exclusively on Candace Owens, not just her content, but the people who challenged her content. The other 78% had an average of 85% of all their engagement focused on the post of just that 3-day period, meaning they were activated exclusively to go into these particular comment sections and probably other ones just for that period of time that I looked at. Understand that.
So those accounts that were less than 120 days old, can you pull up picture 4 real quick?
Yeah.
And maybe SK, you can talk a little bit about what this picture 4 is, but you've heard us talking about a concerted effort from the left to distract from any ability to have any conversation that is not designed to rip apart the MAGA movement. So back in September, and a few days after Charlie was assassinated, we started to get information about the shooter and the connections to the trans Tifa. We started to do podcasts about armed queers, Salt Lake City with Ermia Fanayan. We had all of the furry stuff that was all going on and part of this. And the Antifa movement did not like to see that. They were losing the messaging war on what happened with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, because as soon as you find out that Tyler Robinson is in a homosexual, is in a gay relationship with someone who's going through the transition process, Lance Twiggs, all of that stuff, we start to find posts like this. And this isn't the only one. This is just one example of them, right?
This is a blog post.
A blog post. And it says, as such, anti-fascists must work to find more creative ways to counter this political moment. What the political moment is they were losing the messaging war on who was responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk and why. And they go on and they talk about the strategy that they will use to try to disrupt the messaging war that they're losing. And they call out one possibly useful wedge issue that we can use in this context is Israel. So this is just one example of how these types of sock puppets. So we've got all of these sock puppet accounts that were created in the last 120-ish days, which I don't know if you know this or not. That takes us right up to the end of September. Early October was 120 days ago. They were starting to bring those things.
Let me interject here real quick, because there's a lot of people that have joined the chat late. And I want to make sure that they're not missing this, because I keep seeing the question come up. What is a sock puppet? What's the difference between it and a bot? What's the difference between it and a real person? So if you don't mind, just kind of re-hit that again, because if people aren't tracking that and we're using that term regularly, people are going to get a little bit lost in the sauce. Next time, people show up on time.
Nam, you want to hit that? I've got it right here. So
yeah,
there is a difference. So a bot account, and we use this term incorrectly. Right. A lot of times people think that anyone who's an inorganic account is just a bot account. It's not. A bot account is an automated online account, which is run by software or scripts. It's not a person. It's actually a program. And they're designed very specifically to do repetitive tasks. You'll see bot accounts are specifically used to amplify content because they do things like and they share and they spam. They're trying to increase engagement to push content out further across whatever social media platform they're engaged on. Both sides do this, by the way. This is not just exclusive to the left. The right does this as well. There are bot farms all over the place. You can go to them, you can pay for them, and you can actually pay for how much amplification you want, and that will determine the amount of bot activity you get. A sock puppet is very different. A sock puppet is basically a troll account. It's a fake online identity that is manually created and operated by a real person with the specific desire of manipulating comment sections. They are there to troll, to change conversations, and to drive narratives. That's what they do. They're people. But generally what we found as we have infiltrated these networks and we have looked at their Discord servers is you'll have maybe one person who has control of hundreds of sock accounts, hundreds of them. So you can have a Discord server of 10 or 15 people that can change an entire news cycle with just one Discord server. And that's what we're talking about playing out in the comment section of videos and of content on X over that 3-day period of these sock puppets that seem to be specifically targeting people who are challenging the Candace Owens narrative. That's the difference between a bot and a sock account. I don't know if that helps.
Nope, I think it does.
All right. One more thing I want to touch on because look, sample size matters, right? So it's important to know that I tried to get Grok to actually expand the sample size as big as I could get it to go. The furthest that Grok was able, or at least willing to give me, was 140 different handles or different account IDs. And the last time I said, Grok, can you add more to the list? After about 30 minutes, nothing had produced. It was just thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. So I just asked Grok, I said, are you stuck? And this is exactly, and I'll quote Grok, what he said to me. Providing hundreds of rows in plain text.csv blocks becomes unwieldy in a chat. Beyond, and then he goes on and says, beyond approximately 100 accounts, the additional accounts add diminishing new insights. They follow nearly identical patterns. 100% or near 100% Owens focused in the period with nearly zero cross-topic engagement. So the reason why Grok was struggling to give me more information, he was effectively saying, I don't need to. You have all the information that you need, because everything else that we look at is saying the exact same thing that you saw in the first 65, which is the accounts that we're engaging in here were specifically targeting content that was contradictory to the narrative that Candace Owens was pushing.
So in short, sock puppets are essentially paid actors that are going around. They have their marching orders. They know what to say. They know what they've been told. And somebody mentioned this just a second ago, and this is true. I've been seeing this in the last 3 or 4 days. The new trope that they're pushing is that if you disagree with Candace, you're a traitor. And that is something I've seen time and time again. And it's the first time I've really seen that.
It's a script.
Over multiple accounts. Like, you can predict this stuff. Once you start seeing it once, twice, 3 times, and now you're seeing it dozens of times over and over and over. And that's one of the new ones. They're going to continue to push in the $7,000 club. You're a Zionist. You're a Fed. Now it's, you are a traitor, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Like that's the new one.
Gary,
yeah,
what
so,
I think,
because it makes you a traitor. Because understand what Candace and the narrative that she's driving is trying to push, because she did with the Harry Myers, the whatever his name, Jon Snow or Mitch Snow. And I know Jon Snow did it on purpose, because I'm rewatching Game of Thrones, by the way, for like the 5th time. It's so good. The narrative that they pushed, because she said, and I'm going to quote it as close as I can. She did not understand how the revelations from the Harry Myers escapade was not going to result in a complete admission from the federal government of the United States military helping to organize the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Right?
She made that allegation. Yep.
Yeah, that's the allegation that she made. We quoted it. We've got it. We've played it in multiple shows up to this point. So you then what we have to consume here is that the sock puppet accounts are now telling us that we are the traitors if we have a hard time believing that the United States federal government and the United States military worked together at Fort Huachuca on September 8th and September 9th to plan the final planning meeting of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That's what those sock puppet accounts are saying.
Should we go through a quick list of all the things that would make us traitors if we don't believe? Because I actually have a list of allegations that Candace Owens and her audience has made over the last couple of weeks of things that if you don't believe her narrative, you're going to be a traitor.
But can we have 1 second of comedy relief here? Because that's kind of my job. And there was a comment that was freaking amazing talking about the socks. And they said, one sock always goes missing. So it was pretty funny.
Gary, I'm going to read this because we read this on our podcast all the time.
Sure.
And it's important for people to understand how insane this narrative is. If you don't agree with Candace Owens, you are a traitor, which basically means if you don't agree that all of these people and organizations were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, you're a traitor. The French government, the Israeli government, the Egyptian government, the US government, the FBI, TPUSA as an inside job, Mossad, the French Foreign Legion, the Gendarmerie, I don't think I said that right, intervention group, the ADL was used to cover it up. Freemasons, if you don't think Freemasons were involved, you are a traitor. BBNet, And I'm not talking about Bibi Netanyahu. I'm actually talking about an Irish internet service provider that she accuses of being involved in the cover-up. Yahoo, if you don't believe that Yahoo is involved, you're a traitor. If you don't believe that Charlie's security team was involved, you're a traitor. Erica Kirk, if you don't believe any of that, traitor. Emmanuel Macron, Brigitte Macron, Bibi Netanyahu, of course, because it's always the Jews. Bill Ackman, Josh Hammer, Kash Patel, Blake Neff, Alex Clark, Tyler Boyer, Brian Harple, Dan Flood, Pastor Rob McCoy for helping to cover it up, Pierre DuPont, because, you know, the DuPont family, they have Freemason ties. Stacey Sheridan, for God knows what, I don't even know who she is, but somehow she's involved. You're a traitor if you don't believe it. Donald Trump, because why not? Because he's orange and orange man bad. And everyone thinks that Donald Trump did it. Jewish donors did it. Zionists did it. Jewish hitmen did it. Bolsheviks were involved and other anti-Christian forces. Did you know that a bunch of maroon t-shirt wearing individuals or operatives in the military were involved? They were
National
signaling
Guard.
things.
National
you
Guard,
don't-
people in maroon shirts or the National Guard is what she said in that comment.
That's right.
Ridiculous.
Beekeepers from a really weird dream. If you don't believe they were involved, then you are a traitor. Mormons, Marcus Hale, who, by the way, is not even a real person. It's actually an AI figure that was created and somehow inserted into this conversation. If you don't believe that entire list of people that at some point has been accused of being involved or helping to cover up her conspiracies, you're a traitor. Oh yeah, soccer player wearing green hoodies.
Oh, we missed that one. Yeah, we missed that
I
one.
need to add that to the list. Hold on, that's going on my list. Sorry, keep going, guys. But that's the list. Those are the people that she thinks are somehow involved. And by the way, zero evidence about any of them.
We don't need evidence. We got vibes and feels.
Zero.
Why would someone want evidence? All right. So Nam, I think you were talking about this particular blog post.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically done with this particular image, but the point here is we are watching a well orchestrated distraction campaign, right? To distract you from talking about successes of the Trump administration, the things that they're actually doing, and in my opinion, distracting from being able to talk about the folks who are actually involved, or at least had pre-knowledge of this and are actively working in many, many ways to transform this country and this government into something that we won't recognize. And it is it's the Global Ties US, it's the Utah Global Diplomacy Groups, it's the United Nations that are, very, very deeply ingrained and involved in everything that we're doing at this point with their development, with their sustainable development goals, or whatever the heck all that stuff actually is. So we're not allowed to talk about these things, even though we do and we did, but now you're going to get attacked. Look, by these sock puppet accounts.
You can't leave any stone unturned except for those stones. Those stones are to never be turned ever.
The ones that actually have real connections to the person who is sitting in courtroom in the state of Utah.
Yeah.
Nobody else from Egypt, no pilots from Egyptian planes, nobody from Israel, no people wearing maroon shirts are sitting in that courtroom. There is somebody who has connections, by the way, to Trans Tifa furries, who has connections to the armed queers of Salt Lake City. Yes, those are the people that we know are very deeply connected with Tyler Robinson, but we can't talk about that.
No, we will, and we'll be doing it.
We're going
forever. And by the way, we're going to continue to map this stuff, folks. So one of the things that we've struggled with. Hey, Gary, can you throw up the giant nasty spaghetti monster real quick?
Absolutely.
You guys need to see this.
A good spaghetti monster.
I don't know how long this is supposed to be, but before we go, we have to show the fact that my 12-year-old shot a deer.
We will definitely
Thanksgiving
show
Day.
that.
Yeah,
I want you guys to take a look at this. All right. This is just a very small, tiny segment of the network of color revolutionary organizations that are, as SK likes to say, are literally at this 2-yard line, first down, getting ready to push it in the end zone to transition this country into a communist crap hole. This is the stuff that we should be talking about. This is the stuff that Candyland Conspiracy Time doesn't want us talking about. This is just one small piece of what we have been mapping over on our platform and will continue to map. But the problem that we have is that this is so big, it's so large, it's so well funded, it's so complex that it's almost impossible to be able to wrap your head around exactly what it is, because it touches everything. It touches the faith segment of the country. It touches economics. It touches education. It touches healthcare. It touches every nook and cranny of your life, and it's burrowed deeply into the local administrations, the local governments, every aspect of your life. These people have developed their tentacles into. And what we're going to try to do over the coming weeks and months and however long it takes is we're going to try to find the most significant components of this, and we're going to map them out one by one by one so that you can see what they're doing, who they are, why they're doing it, and hopefully what we can do to try to stop it. That's what we're going to be doing. So Candace, you can continue your conspiracy story time. We're going to be doing this because this is what matters. This is what is important.
Understand, folks, that when Patriot Dad talks about these people want to turn this country into a communist shithole or crap hole.
I don't know if you're allowed to say that word on this podcast.
These people, I apologize. These people,
you can say shithole. It's fine.
Okay.
The groups that are up here, they have entire new constitutions for you.
Ready.
Like an entirely different bill of what it was. It's not a Bill of Rights. It's not the Declaration of Independence. It's a Declaration of Interdependence.
That's a real thing. It's a document that exists, and they're going to push
that these people will force on you if they get what they want. So we're gonna talk about Egyptian planes, and Candace is going to talk about Mitch Snow and Fort Huachuca, while these people are having all the success that they want and replacing our foundational and our formational documents.
Folks, real quick, I know there's a couple of people asking for this image, and I will ask them if they have this anywhere, but what I would say is screenshot it right now. You can screenshot it, kind of zoom in all those things. But do you guys have this image somewhere that people, maybe if you want to post it on X?
And I just commented in the comment section telling people that I would post it again on X just for them. So do you want me to tag you in it?
I would love that. I would love that.
Okay, got it.
Let's do this. Number one, first and foremost, let's make sure SK we get to see her photo. Which photo is that, SK?
It's not up here yet. I will bring it up right now. Hold on.
Okay, because I don't know how to do any of that. I'm actually technologically illiterate. I don't know how I got here.
You have no idea how bad
that's
it
true.
is.
She absolutely is.
It's really bad. But my 12-year-old son shot his first deer on Thanksgiving morning, and he used a 30-06, the same one that I use when I'm hunting. And I have the ammo right here. I can tell you exactly what it was. And he shot it behind its left shoulder. So it's laying where the entrance wound is. And he's 12, and he's not a big kid. That's a very small buck. Where we live, we don't have enormous whitetail. They are not huge.
We got big ones up here.
This is basically our backyard, just for the record. But he used a 30-06. You can see it right there in the photo. It was 165 grain SST interlock, and it did not exit, and it went in behind its left shoulder blade between ribs, so it didn't even hit the ribs, and then it went through, and it stopped on the front of its right shoulder under the skin. And if you think about the ballistics and the things they've talked about with Charlie Kirk and the angle that it went in, hitting the C2 and going down to C6, that's a lot of really strong bones that it's hitting there. We don't know exactly the type of ammo that was used in Charlie Kirk's assassination. That hasn't been released, obviously, and for obvious reasons. We do know that all of the there were other rounds still in the weapon, and we know that the spent round was obviously still in the weapon. It was not ejected. But we don't know exactly what type of round it was. We don't know how old it was. We don't know how it was stored. We don't know the humidity. We don't know any of those things.
SK, none of that matters because my pawpaw's 30-06 would have blown that deer clean in two. I already know.
I did too. But what gets me is the fact that I know I'm just a dumb girl here, but
You're not.
what gets
You got a
me is
brain.
I see all of these hunters all of a sudden posting, after Charlie Kirk was killed, immediately saying it could not possibly be a 30-06. Tyler Robinson could not have pulled the trigger. And Candace Owens is one of the people who I've heard say this as well. And all these people that are supposedly hunters and know all of this stuff about ballistics. First of all, if you know anything about ballistics, you don't know anything about ballistics because bullets do crazy ass things. Anything can happen. And you don't know if it was soft tip. You don't know what it was. You have no idea. You don't know how old it was. You don't know if it was loaded at home or if it was purchased off the shelf. You have no idea. This was purchased off the shelf. Here's the box it came out of. And I have a photo that you can show of the round in my son's hand. And then I also took a picture of it on the counter next to a quarter. So you can see. How else would I have that round?
You guys had to have dug that out of the dirt like 50 yards away.
Yeah, right.
The file format won't work, so we can't bring that up.
How much did BB pay you to say this?
$7,000 per picture.
$7,000 apparently. And I literally didn't even get paid the last 2 cycles on X because I had a death in
That's
the
all right.
family.
You got $7,000 coming. You just did what Israel asked you to do. You just did it.
But just so everyone's aware, and I mean, again, I'm just a dumb girl, but I watched it happen on Thanksgiving morning with my 12-year-old shooting a deer, and it hit very, 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 very few bones. It was a very small buck. I mean, its body was very not wide.
It was the deer of steel. SK, the deer of steel.
And never mind Martin Luther King having very similar rounds shot at half the distance to Charlie Kirk. Never mind Chuck Ritter, who is a Green Beret. He was shot 4 times with 7.62 by 54. That is literally the Russian equivalent of 30-06. One of those entered his back between his ribs, hit his spine, deflected downward, and guess what? It didn't blow him in half. He's still alive. As a matter of, and the crazy part about Chuck Ritter is, number one of his teammates, while he was on the battlefield, had a helmet cam. They actually videotaped the whole thing. He has pictures of his wounds. He posted his medical documents on X, and people say he's still lying. So
yeah,
Gary, that's worth at least $14,000 right there.
And what's crazy here is that I know you're like an expert. I mean, your name is Paramount Tactical, so you do know what you're talking about. But also, women, if there are any women in the chat, which I highly doubt there's a huge percentage of women in the chat, but if there are women in the chat, we watch a lot of true crime. You'd be surprised how much women know about ballistics.
True story.
Well, and look, Candace actually, when she came back from that trip meeting Erica, she goes on, I don't know if you guys watched that, but she was like, oh, well, you know what? They're saying now that it's a fragmenting round. She meant frangible. It's a fragment. Okay, well, that makes sense. And she kind of brushed that under the rug, like all of a sudden, oh, okay, that makes sense now. Like, we're going to let the 30-06 thing go. But, like, none of her sycophants are letting that go.
That's not their role. Their role is to keep it going.
I love the fact there's people. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying, like you said, we still don't know the facts behind that. But what I do think is that the anomaly and or whatever the percentage of the chance of that round not exiting is much higher than the percentage of, we have French assassins, we have American assassins, we have, I don't know who else involved in this. They have this very sophisticated assassination plan, and they plan it down to a T, and they're so successful that no one sees them, no one hears them, no one's aware that they're there, and they get out of there no problem. But the one thing that they messed up on was they accidentally framed the patsy with a 30-06 when they used some other caliber weapon shooting from a different location. Like, the chances of that are ridiculous. Like,
Gary, I have probably the one question that nobody else has ever asked before. I've never asked it. It just somehow miraculously popped into my head. Maybe it was a God thing, because I believe in God. God speaks to me sometimes.
I believe in God too.
However, if this was a super secret assassination plot organized down at Fort Huachuca 2 days before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, how then did 8 to 10 sock puppet accounts post about it weeks in advance. How did random sock puppet accounts online have foreknowledge of an assassination plot that was organized 2 days prior?
Well, you want the answer that Candace would give?
They knew about it.
It was the Jews. They were doing it.
They were always going to frame. They were always going to frame the furry trans people. That's going to be the answer.
But Paramount Tactical, we don't know, but we know, okay?
know.
And also, I had a dream, and it was definitely the Mormon swarm of bees.
I can't argue with any of
If
that.
we're ragging on Candace, I got one more, and then where we go from here, I don't know. But
We're gonna
here's the
take
thing,
some
folks.
questions in the comments.
As a spirit-filled believer, somebody who understands how this works, I've read my Bible multiple times. Dead people do not visit you in your dreams. It doesn't happen. That's not how it works. If you are hearing from dead people in your dreams who are giving you information that you need to track down, that is not a dead person. That is a demonic spirit.
Well, it sure as heck isn't evidence, and it's not proof of anything. Just because, Mitch Snow was at Fort Huachuca, which I've always said that I thought he was. That's part of the con. That's how cons work.
That's right.
Doesn't mean that he walked into a meeting where he heard them planning, which he never even testifies to that. He never says he heard anything. It's just, I saw Brian Harpole there. I saw Erica Kirk the night before. I saw Congressman. I saw this guy wearing a congressman suit, whatever that is. That happened to be Congressman Amadei, or however you say his name, who happened to be in Washington, D.C. in the chamber at the time. So I don't know. It's totally unbelievable in the most literal sense. And it's a shame that so many Americans look, folks, this is the tip of the iceberg. All right. We're going to go down the rabbit hole even further. We got a lot more evidence. This is, like I said, just the tip of the iceberg, just the tip. Anyways, make sure you guys go follow the Patriot. I keep screwing it up. Patriot what podcast?
Patriot Source Podcast.
Patriot Source Podcast.
It's PSP25 on X and
Yep.
Patriot Source Podcast.
All their links.
on
Yeah, I
YouTube.
have their links down below. I think I have Patriot EV, but you go follow him. He'll have all the links too.
That's right.
You guys go follow them, support them. We are going to be a united front. Look, we're going to continue to add people like this to our coalition of truth seekers. And we're going to bring you the truth, whether you like it or not, whether Candace likes it or not, whether the left likes it or not. And we're going to continue to add people to this that are contributing in many different ways, bringing their different skills, resources, abilities, experience, and we're going to bring you the truth. So make sure you guys stay tuned. So what we'll do now is we'll start going through and we'll start answering some questions, reading your comments. We are going to prioritize the super chats, and then we'll try to get to as many live chats as possible. I want to thank Cold Blooded Christian. Thank you very much for becoming a member. We appreciate your support. If you want to support our channel, down in the description, there's a link. You can become a member, and we do appreciate the support. Candace Owens was revealing an article with a title implicating France, Britain, and others in some military wrongdoing. She skipped Britain while reading it. She called American Revolutionary War as France's war against Britain. Her allegiance is obvious. Well, the other thing, look, I talked about this on Alex Jones the other day. It's not by chance that the Steele dossier and a lot of the alleged incriminating information that we all know was completely debunked and complete nonsense came from MI6. The UK is no friend of Donald Trump, as with anybody in the UN. Look, the UN, NATO, none of these countries that are supposedly our allies want a Republican in office, and they sure as hell don't want Donald Trump. They want someone that is more friendly to them, that they can get over on us like they've been doing for the last 50 years. So it's politics at the highest level. It's mudslinging at the highest level, and they are not any friends of the Republican Party or the conservative movement.
Nope.
And you guys just jump in anytime that you guys want to add anything to this.
Yeah, I'm going to. You guys know who her husband is, right? Who Candace Owens' husband is?
George Farmer.
George Farmer. I know you guys. I know you've probably spent a lot of time on this, but and then who his father is? What is he? Is he a lord? He's not. He's a
Lord
he's a
Michael.
lord.
Yeah, Lord. So listen, you don't hold that title in the UK. if you are not very deeply ingrained with the United Kingdom government, and especially the Crown. You just don't. I mean, so, we've gone down the path on our show with Parler, with her husband's role in Parler when Parler was allowed to come back online after it was taken offline.
It was a honeypot.
It was a honeypot. It was an intel and information gathering operation, and her husband was the CEO of it for a short time. And then also there's, a lot of indication that he wanted to be the new incoming CEO of Turning Point USA, but the board was like, no, and gave it to Erica instead. So,
well, hold on. We got to add to that, because look, I mean, if we're going to do deep dives into people, we need to do a deep dive into the relationship there. And we
Done.
are
done.
Well, what we need to do is probably have a podcast episode just covering that, because I know I bet you SK has a lot more information than I have. And I have probably an hour and a half's worth of information just on George Farmer, her relationship, the link chart, putting him in contact with his father and everything else. There is a weird dynamic there, and I'm not sure how this ultimately plays out, but from what I understand, Lord Farmer does not like Candace at all.
I couldn't imagine why. Can you imagine what Christmas dinner was like, being like super pro-Israel and sitting at the dinner table with Candace Owens?
Well,
I don't think there are Christmas dinners, and
I want to take this just a little bit further.
Yeah, I don't. From what I understand, he doesn't want anything to do with her at all. And again, we can look up that information. That's some of that's a little bit of speculation. Well, I've been given that information; it's not verified. How about that? That's where that is.
What do you mean? Are you saying that you don't give information that you haven't verified, Paramount Tactical? What are you doing? That's how you become the number one podcast in the world.
I'm just asking questions. No, look, we all speculate, right? We get pieces of information where we have to make logical leaps. There's no doubt about that. But the difference is between us that are trying to do things with integrity is we clarify that. Like, I could have stated that as a fact. That's exactly what Candace does every single time. She would have said something to the effect of, I know because my sources have told me that he definitely doesn't like Candace. All right. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I've heard that. That is not fact because I haven't clarified that and or confirmed that, but that is some information that I have. And that's what people do that are honest.
I think it is absolutely worth the question of asking, when Parler was reopened, it was allowed to be brought back online when George Farmer was the CEO of it. And there are many credible allegations that it was used as a mapping tool to track and identify January 6 defendants. And many people believe other conservative voices, and then was ultimately shut down again. And then several months later, Arctic Frost was opened. And many of the conservative influencers who were incredibly active on Parler turned up in Arctic Frost and were beginning to be investigated. One of them at the top of the list was Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA.
Yeah.
You guys remember Arctic Frost? You remember what they were doing? They were spying on people.
Yeah. And folks, here's the scam and why the UK and MI6 and the rest of their intel agencies are so integral in all of these scandals that we've had with the US spying on us. Look, while the CIA and or NSA or FBI are waiting on warrants to get permission to spy on these US citizens, all they got to do is write down these names, hand them over to MI6, and they do the spying on US citizens for them. And then they hand that information back to the United States, whoever requested that information. And from there, now they have a probable cause. And then they bring it in front of a judge. So that's the scam. You guys, we talked a little bit about this before, information laundering, right? Okay. So that's what's going on with this. And that's how they're using our allies and their intel agencies to do the surveillance that they can't lawfully do here in the United States.
And they're doing it through Five Eyes capabilities. Yeah. So you're absolutely right.
I have probably hours and hours and hours and hours of information on this. I just need to wait until like next week.
Yeah, we know what she's doing with it. We'll wait.
All right. Candace's tweet today now tries to implicate the CIA, and she got basic facts about the case wrong. Oh, that's shocking. You should see my shock face right now. A detailed documentary needs to be made about how our political environment was ripe for this cult. That is true, and that's something that we've talked about. I'm sure you guys have covered it too. Look, because of the distrust that we, not just from, but while it was so fresh in our memories, the distrust that the Biden administration, where they weaponized the DOJ, where they stole an election, where they implemented all the COVID sanctions, and then on top of that, we're forcing a vaccine that they told us was safe and effective and was perfectly fine. That's getting ready to be black boxed for children. They said it was fine, that all of this thing where people are dying from it, that we're having vaccine injuries, that was all lies. That's misinformation. That's disinformation. So now we're stuck in this cycle where we're like, hey, look, guys, I'm telling you, the Egyptian planes in Fort Huachuca is a lie and disinformation. They're like, well, you're just like the government that was saying that the vaccines were. No, you're like the government. You're saying that something that is absolute bullshit, that's quantifiably and verifiably wrong, you're the one saying that that's true. All right, switch those roles. We're trying to help you out here because they have no evidence of any of this stuff, and they're the ones trying to trick you, and we're trying to open your eyes. And
Gary, are you saying
these are the same people?
Candyland call is in fact the same people that was pushing the vaccine hoax?
Yep.
Are we saying that it's the same
That's the
propaganda
deep state.
campaigns?
Yes, and I would say that the deep state has completely hijacked this, and their targets are the exact same. The deep state targets were Donald Trump. The deep state targets were the Conservative Party. The deep state targets were TPUSA and Charlie Kirk. And guess what? All of those targets, by the way, are aligned with the Candace cult. You don't think that's a coincidence? Or you do think that's a coincidence? It's not, I promise.
So to get back to the original comment, the documentary should be made. There actually was a documentary made about this. It's called Idiocracy. And that's where we are.
Our last
right?
podcast. I was like, we have entered officially into the idiocracy. No, you're absolutely right. It is true because everybody wears Crocs. I mean, my kids are walking outside.
I don't even own a pair of Crocs. I don't even own a pair.
Flip-flops.
They are pretty magical. I'm not gonna lie. All right. I want to hear more about the investigation into armed queers and other trans-Tifa groups. Where and who is the cash cow?
I can answer this.
Yeah, go ahead. Take it, SK.
So,
Well, before she does, sorry, SK.
Oh, God.
Go ahead.
Go over to the Patriot Source podcast and start at episode 6 and start watching because we've mapped all this. SK is going to summarize it as fast as she can. But this is hours worth of content that we've done on it.
I do really bad at summaries and being concise, just for the record. That's kind of an inside joke, but it's true.
Even your description of your being bad at summaries was very inconcise, but go ahead.
There you go. See? No, Armed Queers, SLC, they have been funded by a lot of different people, and Ermia Finian talks a lot about fundraising. But what I was going to say is you can go to my X or Data Republican, or just go to X at all and put in Ermia Finian, ERMIYA, Finian, FANAEIAN, I think. And you can find tons of information on Armed Queers SLC. It started as a different gun club, the Pink Pistols, and then they kicked her out because she was too radical, imagine. But also, I exposed on Patriot Source Podcast a long time ago that Matt Older was the shooter at the Salt Lake City No Kings protest, and he hadn't been arrested yet. And he was arrested just a few weeks ago after I pushed that really hard for quite a while because nothing was being done. And Matt Older happens to also be a member of the LGBTQ community and of Armed Queers SLC.
Yeah. So
Who's the cash cow, though? Who's the cash cow? You are. Hey,
you are.
Hey,
Yeah,
America, you need to understand.
And the State Department.
All of the funding that funds this stuff came from you, the taxpayers, through USAID. Billions and billions of dollars.
Folks, this is why the Doge analytics, the Doge investigations that were going on in the early part of the second term had to be shut down, because you have been funding all of this, and you've been funding it for a very, very, very long time. You've been funding their campaigns. You're funding their NGOs. You funded BLM. You are funding Antifa. You're funding ISIS. You're funding Al Qaeda. You're funding all of it. You and your tax dollars are. And now we know that you're funding Al Shabaab through the networks of the Somali communities and all of the fraud that you're paying for all of this.
Who's and the Taliban.
You are.
Did you guys know? Did you guys know that
the point?
Did you guys know that the Government Accountability Office released a report? I talked about this morning, and I've done content on this for a while. The GAO released a report earlier this year, and what they reported confirmed what Doge found in part. Doge found, if you remember, that the Treasury Department had identified that close to $3 trillion, with a T, trillion dollars had been sent overseas that were meant from Medicaid and Medicare recipients, had been sent overseas in improper payments since 2003.
That's just Medicaid and Medicare.
$2.7 trillion. In the very same report, the GAO reported that upwards of $500 billion every single year goes missing to waste, fraud, and abuse. Do you understand that since 2003, close to $13 trillion, America, has been stolen from you? Stolen from you. That's 36% of our entire national debt is money that one report from the GAOA or Government Accountability Office found earlier this year. $13 trillion. Well, the money that is missing is in these networks. It's in these organizations.
And we see what's happening in Minnesota right now. That's big in the news. Folks, that's just not just Minnesota. That's in every major city in the United States. The same scams are taking place. Billions and billions of dollars every single year are being scammed right out from under us. And those are the ones that don't even have some sort of, justification. Like what USAID has been doing is it's been a leftist slush fund for the last probably 20, 30 years. And that's what, and they have justification for that. It's a little bit harder. It's a little bit easier to get away with and harder to prove that there's wrongdoing, the way that they launder that money through different governments and government agencies and organizations. But this is just flat out fraud that is going on every single day. Look, guys, we got 56 questions to go through, and we knocked out 3 in about 20 minutes. So
all right,
we'll have to get a little bit more.
I'll just stay muted. That's my
concise.
Exactly. All right. Mike Benz is a spook. I used to listen to him back when he went by Frame Game Radio, looked that Psyop up. Look, I disagree with that, and here's why. I'm very aware of how the government works, and I know what he's exposed. And I'm telling you, it's pretty. Look, I don't doubt there are people that are very sophisticated. They're trying to paint him as a psyop because they want to undermine his credibility because of how effective he is. When you have somebody that is cutting billions of dollars, the legs out from the fraud, waste, and abuse that's taking place, like that is not the indicator that they're a psyop. All right.
Yep. So Mike Benz, if you think he's a psyop, he's got he shows you the receipts. He does the investigations in real time, right?
He does.
That's not a psyop. That's actually showing receipts. What was the last receipt you saw from Candace?
He's the worst damn psyop of all time because he's actually showing you the truth. Psyop's
right. He's doing the investigations in real time.
The worst.
Right.
Exactly. Lily Tang Williams and Sean Ryan has firsthand accounts of the color revolution that took place in China. Scary stuff. Definitely check it out. Yeah, the more that you know on all this stuff and understanding how deep it runs, the better off you are. Laura Dugas, open our eyes, Lord. I agree.
Amen to that.
I know, look, Gerald Bonachita, you were kind of going off down there. Look, sometimes, and this goes for everybody, I just want you to know, sometimes the chats are scrolling so fast. I've done this myself in an accident where you actually put the wrong person in timeout or ban them. If that happens to you, send us an email. We'll fix it. And it's not intentional. So just show us some grace. The mods are working overtime. Corruption isn't conspiracy when it's protected by bureaucracy. Yeah. And that's exactly what USAID was, and many other elements. Look, all of these, we see what's going on in Minnesota. All of these social programs are engineered and built with fraud in mind. And it's almost always the Democrats. Look, Republicans do it too. And this is a really good point in general with what we're talking about, folks. Just like Patriot Dad and others have talked about in this episode, this is not just the left that does this stuff. I am just as suspicious of the right as I am the left. And that's why I want you guys to understand what's happening here in the mechanisms so that you can identify what's happening. I don't want to be tricked by the left. I don't want to be tricked by the government, but the right will trick us too. And there's a lot of different things. Like it could be, we could have a real tyrant of a conservative candidate up at any point in time. So this is not about parties. So regardless of your political affiliation, we all need to be aware as Americans and have some cognitive security so that we're not getting tricked by anybody in office or government or social media personality or anything else.
I always say my line is that it's like basically the entirety of the left and some of the right.
Yes, I agree. It is primarily perpetrated by the left. There's no doubt about it. Patrick Vincent, I love going to the Candace supporting channels and posting and pasting your YouTube links. Well, thank you. Now go there and start pasting Patriot Source Podcast links as well. Ian Carroll was on Tucker today. I'm curious what the panel thinks about the weird things Tucker is doing. I plan on watching that. Somebody can comment on that.
I've got an opinion on Tucker real quick. Yeah, my opinion on Tucker is I don't think most people listen to his entire his entire podcast, his entire shows. You need to. Tucker is not somebody that you could take out of context because and about the minute before or the minute after the context that you're showing, he explains exactly what he means, and it's not as bad as you think it is. So, I mean, do I agree with everything Tucker? I don't agree with everything freaking Patriot Dad says. I don't agree with everything my wife says, right? But I think Tucker has been a bulwark for the MAGA movement. He's been a voice that I know I've listened to for many years since he was just a writer behind some ink. I think he deserves a little bit of grace and listen to what he's saying before you freak out.
Look, folks,
I'm going to push back on you just a little bit, Nam. And look, disagreement's always good, right? This is how we keep each other straight. Tucker lost me when he started talking about or confirming Candace Owens' Egyptian planes thing. I do think, and I do think that is, again, information laundering, right? People were like, oh, look, Tucker confirmed it too. And all he did was take what Candace said about the Egyptian planes at face value. He agreed with her, and for everybody listening, basically what they heard was, oh, he confirmed that the data is correct, which we know the data is trash. Yeah, like right. that is debunked. It's dumb.
Yeah, Candace Owen the Great did an excellent job debunking that. Totally destroyed it. Absolutely. Look, here's the thing about Tucker. You have to listen to his show. I've actually listened to a ton of his podcast because I find his guests interesting.
I agree.
And my opinion on Tucker is probably different than a lot of people. I think he's actually one of the few people that is truly America first without being a racist, without being a Nick Fuentes version racist, without turning America first into a white supremacist movement, which many people are trying to do. If you listen to Tucker Carlson and you actually listen to what the man's saying, he's saying the basic things that we're saying, which is, hey, why are we sending money overseas when we have veterans dying on the streets?
Agreed.
Hey, why are we sending money to Israel, or why are we sending money to the Middle East? Which, by the way, I fully agree with when we have $40 trillion in debt here.
100%.
Now, he probably spouts off at the mouth. And what I appreciate about him is he actually has guests on that are willing to say things that maybe I disagree with. Go listen to his show and make up your own mind.
Again, so just so you guys know, this is not just me coming at it from like there's two podcasts that until about a month ago I listened to religiously every single day, Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan. And I do think that there has been some weird shift with the direction where he's going. I'm not sure where it is. I got to the point where I was listening very intently, and I was hoping for like this a little bit of a course correction, because we're going off into an area that does seem a little more Candace-like. And I'm sure I can come up with some examples that I don't have right now, but look, the reality is that none of us can fall in love with any one person. And we have to listen to what they're saying. If they've been right and they've been saying the correct things and you feel like they're telling the truth, we should give them some grace and make sure that we understand where they're coming from. At the same time, like, we should always be ready to cut ties and not just blind loyalty because we like somebody, and not be afraid, regardless of what. Like, Ben Shapiro is not one of my favorite people, but his speech at AmFest was right on point. Like, we can't let familiarity or friendship of keep us from calling people out when they're doing things wrong, which is one of the reasons that Candace has metastasized to the point that she did.
That's right.
So, yeah. All right. I would like to hear some tangible strategies we can take collectively to combat what we're seeing with the sock puppet accounts, particularly relative to Cantifa. They cannot gain momentum in 2026. That's a great point. We talked about the problem. What's the solution, folks?
I don't know if I have a perfect one for you. Here's my solution. I am calling every single one of them out that I see, and they're
That's
pretty
fine,
easy to
bro.
identify. They're very easy to identify. When I see one, I will comment underneath of it, and I will say, this is a sock puppet, so that anyone in my comments know that this is not a real account that you need to think about. You can block it.
I
You
take
can
a
block it
screenshot of their account, put it underneath their thing, and like another bot account. I don't really say sock puppet. Like you said, people know what a bot account is. It does the job, whether you want to clarify sock puppet or bot account, and call them out.
X implementing their location feature was huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
The other thing that we can do,
grab it and use them.
We can actually start tagging Elon Musk in some of this stuff, because X actually has policies against sock puppet accounts. And we should be calling him into these channels and saying, hey, you've got a problem. You've got an actual organized effort underway in the comments to try to divide the country and push false narratives. And you need to do something about it. And he needs to.
And also, I would just like to point out, I hate self-promotion. It makes me feel super uncomfortable. But this morning we did a podcast, and Patriot Dad found an account that was commenting on all of the stuff that was going on, and he put photos up side by side and showed exactly how they edited the photos, where they found the photo, and showed you exactly how it is a fake account. And it is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I was blown away, and I was there.
Yeah. So I mean, the point is be upfront, right? Get engage with them and show. Most of what we do in our comments, frankly, I know I'm not going to change the mind. And Bongino used to talk about this all the time. We're not going to change the mind of the sock puppet, the people operating that account. It's for the other people that are watching the debate happen, right?
Exactly.
It's them. It's for those people. It's the person standing off on the side watching. So show them who that account is.
It's just like our content that we're doing now. This is not to change the mind of the deepest inculcated Candace cultist people. Like, that's not who we're going to reach. What we're doing right now is we're reaching the reasonable among us, and it prevents more people getting sucked in. And for the reasonable portion of people that are still kind of listening, trying to figure things out with Candace, we want to show you what's happening with this, so that you, like, if you want to follow Candace, great. At least go in there eyes wide open, understanding the other, having a full set of information, because that's what's going on with Candace, and that's why she's been so effective. Is she omits all of the other information that proves what she's saying is wrong. And most people, when they have, like, we're going to get to it. There's a comment that I'm getting ready to talk about. Whoever said this in a few minutes that I'm going to go into address, because I tagged it in the chat, clearly has not actually read the charging documents.
That's right.
Folks, you haven't read the charging documents, because Candace hasn't. Like, it's only like 7 pages, 8 pages. It's a 10-minute read. At least go read the charging documents if you're going to talk about what was done or what was not done. And even if you reject them outright, if you're like, I don't believe it, it's all fake, at least go read it so you can talk about it from an educated standpoint. Amanda Green says, Israel has always been our ally. Most of the money we give them for defense, they spend with us. Look, again, this is a nuanced discussion. I do believe that there are some policies and other things, and just the fact that our interests don't always align with Israel. And we need to reject any interest from any of our allies that don't align with us. I was just on InfoWars with Alex Jones today. He was showing clips of them, Israel talking about how we need to get rid of the First Amendment or put limits on the First Amendment. F you.
That's right.
There's no country out there that's going to tell us how we're going to implement and execute our Constitution. GFYS. All right. This is our country. Don't tell us how to operate it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what a friend you are or anything else. So, like, that's where I stand on this. If you want to do that in your own country and you want to run a tyrannical government and you want to do all these things, but we can't, this goes back to, like, we have to have America first. It's okay. Look, I agree that Israel has a right to exist. I agree that they have a right to defend themselves. I agree that they are a strategic ally that allows us to project power in the Middle East. We get a lot of benefit from that relationship. The moment we start getting into areas where we're not benefiting from them and we're sending them money, F off. Like, I got no time.
Agree. 100% agree with everything you just said.
Constitution first. Constitution first. I feel like that's the only thing. If you are an American, it doesn't matter your political views. It doesn't matter anything. If we rally around the Constitution of the United States and American values, that's all we have to do, period, the end. But that's how we save this country.
And that is the litmus test for anyone. Or if you're like, I wonder if this country or this political entity is working in our benefit. Do they want to violate the Constitution? Do they want to take your Second Amendment rights away? Do they want to censor you and take your First Amendment rights away? If that's a yes to either one of those, among others, like, it's a real clear cut, easy, like, you know what? They're not America first. They're not in it for the interests of the American people. And what they want to do is they want to set up the ability. Look, if the government has all the guns and the government has access to firearms that we don't have access to, we are no longer a government of, for, and by the people. We have a government that's set up to dominate the people. That's not how this works. This is America. You want my guns, you're going to come get them in a pile of brass.
Are you saying nukes for everyone?
I'm saying nukes for everyone.
Asking for friends.
You get a nuke. You get a nuke. You get a nuke. Battleship for you. Stealth fighter for you. I don't care.
I'll just take a tank. Just give me a tank. A cannon would be nice.
Small arms. All right. Small arms. Look, even back in even Civil War, Revolutionary War, like, even regular people had cannons. So this goes back a long time of like, there should be very little limitations on what firearms that the average American can have.
That's right.
That's how I feel about it.
Totally agree.
We covered that one. A Doge style audit might clear some of the questions Candace Owens and others have. Well, I mean, that's on them.
Piss off. Look, here's the deal. You are not entitled. Sorry, I want to say this differently. Candace Owens is not entitled into a financial audit of a private organization, and her asking and demanding for it, piss off.
Yeah, agreed.
That's exactly what TPUSA should say. Piss off, pound sand, you ain't getting it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, that's what everyone who's being accused by Candace Owens and the Candyland cult should be saying. Piss off, you're not getting squat. As a matter of fact, you're going to get a cease and desist and a lawsuit if you don't knock it off.
Until you have the authority to show up to my door with a warrant,
piss off.
Exactly. Candy wants to dismantle TPUSA because she stole millions from Blexit, and once TPUSA bought Blexit and found out, Candy took Charlie Kirk out before he could report it.
Listen, we don't have to do conspiracy theories on all sides of this, guys. We don't. Okay.
I was with you to the last sentence. Look, I do think that there is projection there, right? There was clear financial problems with Blexit. Yes, TPUSA did take it over. I think Candace is still associated with Blexit one way or the other. I have to check that out. But the last I heard, she still was on the board or something like that. Not with TPUSA. I understand this is a separate entity that TPUSA kind of has control over and owns it. I don't know. It gets weird, right? It's a weird corporate structure or charity structure. It's so clear Candace is lying, but there's still people that believe everything she's saying. It's crazy. Thank you for everything you're doing. Well, that's what we're here for. Thank you, Maria.
I just showed you that 60% of the people that agree, quote unquote, agree with her aren't real.
Yep. Or, yeah, they're sort of real, but they're paid, right?
That's right.
They're that
well, I don't know that they're paid.
From the dryer.
They are not normal, average, everyday people who are putting boots on and going to work every day trying to make this country work. They are people who are intentionally designed to try to destroy this country.
They're propagandists.
That's right.
So why doesn't Candace want people looking into the transfer PDF field ring that Robinson was involved in? So it's a great question.
More to come.
Because that will expose the actual answers that she apparently doesn't want.
More to come.
I don't know if you guys have looked into this, but there is the Scientology / John Mappin. This is rhetorical statement. I see SK getting all excited over there. We'll save it for another podcast, but there's some there.
There's definitely some there.
I'm not I'm
But
not
I
allowed
know
to talk
no.
about it yet. I've been gagged by my friends that we research together. I've been gagged, and that happens a lot. And it's really, really, really hard for me because I'm super honest and I have no filter, and I want to talk about everything I know. So
Look, folks, here's the deal. I'll just say this, and SK, if I go too far, let me know. A lot of the things that people want to be looked at are and have been looked at and are being documented and are being given to the people who are going to potentially, hopefully, if they don't, they're in big trouble, do something about it.
Good point. It's refreshing to see a legitimate investigatory work and evidence, probably foreign to any Cantifa on here, and interested to hear effective strategies. I think we talked about those. We'll wrap up. I'll get everybody's final opinion when we get through all the questions of what we need to do and what the steps are going forward. My account was one of the ones attacked by sock puppet accounts. Patriot Dad features my account today. Wish I could share the picture. Incredible.
Oh, she did. Yeah, I remember that. She did. She was attacked. She shared that on one of the posts. I remember seeing Tammy in there, and she's right. She was one of the ones that were attacked by a sock puppet today. And
Tammy, I always see you down in the comments on my X, fighting the good fight, supporting us. Man, I appreciate you very much, Tammy. That is not lost on me. So everybody should be Tammy. Erica said, stop, quit asking questions. She did not say stop, quit asking questions. What she said was, she responded to Candace of stop. Candace is continuing to put out false and baseless accusations. That's what she said stop to. So what's your opinion on the fraud topic? I talked about that at length today. I'm assuming you're talking about Minnesota. Me and Alex Jones talked about that on the InfoWars. If you haven't checked out that episode, I think I am in hour 3. So go check that out. Look, there's a lot going on. And again, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So it's just, there's more to come. The fact that Candace is not investigating TR's online friends with foreknowledge of CK's murder speaks volumes about her motives. Couldn't agree more. Dr. Altoids. What a great name. Yes, TR pulled the trigger, but more to the story. I don't believe Cash or Bongino are disappointing. I don't like the smears on them. I need more proof of that. I'll let you guys answer this too, but look, I will say that I am disappointed in Bongino. Is he better than Christopher Wray? By light years. And I meant Cash, not Bongino. Bongino's out. And I think Bongino is out because he realized that he couldn't be as effective as he thought he would be able to be. Look, the FBI is less of a law enforcement agency than it is a huge bureaucracy. It's the same problem that we have with every agency and why government continues to grow. Because the more bureaucracy, the less effective, the more it costs, the more waste, fraud, and abuse there is. This is by design. And I give Cash a little bit of grace. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but at the same time, I am disappointed in what appears to me his ineffectiveness. I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree that either Cash or Bongino are being ineffective. If you remember, how long did it take from January 6th of 2021 before you started to see the first indictments of January 6th defendants or, any of the Jack Smith, any of that stuff, right?
About 2 years, year and a half.
About 2 years. Yeah. So President Trump, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, et al., all of them, they walked not only into a hostile situation, they walked into organizations who were actively obfuscating what they were doing from the people that were coming into those positions, right? They have to rebuild all of this information. They have to rebuild it from scratch if they even can do it. And then once they're done with that, then they have to say, were there actual crimes here? Because it's easy for us to sit up here and say, that's a crime, that's a crime, that's a crime.
It's all a crime.
It's all a crime. But then actually tying it to a statute, getting it in front of a grand jury and all of these areas, get in front of prosecutors. Listen, I think Bongino left the FBI for one very important reason. It's because the MAGA movement that President Trump must have in place for the midterms, or he will be impeached and he will be removed and then he will be prosecuted again. If they lose the midterms, the MAGA movement doesn't have a leader right now, and they're watching it be ripped apart. And I think Bongino and President Trump agreed that he'd be more effective on the outside than he is on the inside.
I actually think he missed his wife and wanted to go home too.
what is your response to both Bongino and Cash coming forward and saying, look, there's no there when it came to the alleged suicide of Epstein? Do you think
I mean, I've seen the videos that are available for everybody to see. I understand that there's missing video.
Yeah.
But again, right, they can only make referrals, and they can only seek probable cause warrants and indictments and those sorts of things if they have the evidence that a crime was committed. If they don't have it, I don't know what you want them to do. I mean,
and I just want to say, I still can't get past Dan Bongino and his statements about things that he's seen and how it's worse than we ever could have imagined, and him being white as a sheet, saying some of the things that he said, his body language. I mean, I'm a little bit of an empath, I think. I mean, I'm not like one of those weird juju people, but I mean, it came across that there was something really wrong. And I always say that in order to get to Washington, D.C., you either have to be super corrupt or have done some really terrible things that they can use to blackmail you. Or if you make it to D.C., they find something. And I think that there are probably things that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino probably can't say or do because of the fact that there are, again, we have the UN, we have the EU, we have lots of other foreign countries. When they threaten your family, when they threaten your life, when they threaten to do lots of things to you, there are most people will back off a little bit. And in my opinion, and this is my humble opinion, I have no evidence, this is not the Candace Owens thing. In my humble opinion, I truly believe that there's probably a lot of actual effery that goes on in Washington, D.C., and there's a lot of things they probably can't say and do that they want to say and do because they can't.
Yeah, I want to add real quick.
And like you said, it could be because they're worried about jeopardizing the investigation, or it could be because they have dirt on them that they don't want to be exposed.
Here's one of the problems that I have. Imagine being Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. You walk into an FBI that's been under control of the Biden administration really for the last 4 years. And prior to that, it was basically under control from the Obama administration and the deep state forever. Yeah. Trump never really had his own FBI in there. Nope. He had Christopher Wray. He had people who were actively engaged in a grand conspiracy
and Comey
to create sedition. They were engaged in an effort to overthrow the president of the United States. I don't believe for a single second that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel walked into the FBI, picked up all these files, and could tell at all what was real and what was not real.
And there are like 35,000 FBI agents, and how many of those people are people that are opposition? Not everyone has the same political beliefs. Not everyone supports Donald Trump, and these color revolutionists are in every single level.
I don't
of
even think I think by and large the agents are good people. It's the bureaucrats, it's the analysts, it's those are the people that are in the system that are resisting getting to the truth, and then there are the real political actors within that organization.
I'm convinced that for years they dumped a bunch of crap inside of every file so that nobody could tell what was real and what wasn't real.
I 100% agree with that. I was a 13 Foxtrot to Victor in the Army. A 500-pound JDAM can do weird things like 30-06. One dropped in the draw, and the blast is what killed them, not the shrapnel. Yeah, I mean, again, we're dealing with so many variables that we're dealing with a lot of variables to begin with, even if we knew the exact ammunition, but we don't know the exact ammunition. We don't have enough information to make a good conclusion to begin with. And anyone that's pretending otherwise doesn't know what the heck they're talking about. Just because the man's in jail doesn't mean the investigation is stopped. That is correct. The investigation is ongoing. We know that for a fact. All right, so this is the person I was talking about. In the charging documents, it straight up says that he goes out of the view of the camera to take the shot. We know that's a lie because you can see the spot on the camera, on the other camera.
Say that.
That is not what it says. And Clancy, let me educate you, and please go. And I don't say that as being a dick. I'm just saying, let me tell you what the truth is. Police reviewed the surveillance from the camera covering the roof and discovered that it recorded an individual dressed in dark clothing cross the railing from the public walkway and drop onto the roof at approximately 12:15 p.m. Although the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time, the camera again captured the individual running across the roof and then low crawling to the area that the UVU officer recognized as where the suspected sniper had dropped into a prone shooting position. After a short time, which matches the known time of the shot, the individual arose and ran across the roof to the northeast. So just to reiterate, although the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time, the camera again captured the individual running across the roof and then low crawling into the position. So that's what's actually said. And I've heard that same line regurgitated multiple times. That is misinformation. And I think you're probably just pushing out as misinformation, but that is intentional disinformation from a lot of different sources.
You need to start to understand this definition of a word called malinformation, because you're not only seeing misinformation and disinformation, you are seeing intentional malinformation, meaning they are intentionally inserting bad information into the public lexicon so that you don't know what's right and what's not right. It's malinformation. People are being malinformed on purpose.
100%. We covered this at length. What's the difference between a sock puppet versus people not using a real? Well, you're just talking about somebody that is using an anonymous account versus not an anonymous account. So there's a big difference.
Yep.
Patrick Vincent, thank you again. Exactly, Gary. It's so heartbreaking that people believe Candace's theory. She's given no proof of anything unless you count the dream that she had. I just don't understand how her followers can be so ignorant. All right. So the Panopticon said this several times. He was basically saying that you want internet ID. I'd never heard you guys say that, but that was his
I did ask Grok to give me the account ID, to give me the handle, the account screen name of the sock accounts.
No, he's saying you're clout chasing is what he's saying.
No. Hold on. He clarified what he's saying is that you want some sort of internet ID where nobody can remain anonymous.
No.
Okay.
No.
No,
Okay.
none of us want that at all. We actually expose the digital IDs and the process to get there, which is what's happening right now.
So to be clear, nobody here wants an internet ID that forces you to give up your anonymity. I don't want that. They don't want that. That's not what we're saying.
I actually have a very, very compelling perspective that maybe one day we can flesh out. But this ultimate state of internet ID is probably closer to, the chip that we're all going to be getting at the very end of things.
Yeah, it's called the mark of the beast.
That's right.
The
mark of the beast. Internet ID.
G Money says they will have to have Tyler taking the shot with recoil, right? No, they do not need that, folks. What they're going to have is they're going to show, look, they got lots of footage of Tyler. That is clear as day. It's Tyler. They have his DNA on the rifle. They have his DNA on the trigger. They have his DNA on the spent cartridge. They have his DNA on the unspent cartridges. They have his DNA on the roof. Oh, look, I went there. I saw his handprint. They pulled the DNA off of that. They have DNA on the towel. They have DNA on the screwdriver. They have video footage. They have all the metadata from his phone. Look, this is as tight as a case as it gets. Tyler Robinson shot and killed Charlie Kirk. The only thing that is left open to a conspiracy that I think is most likely what happened is that there are other people that knew about this. There were other people involved. It could be Hunter Kozak. It could be George Zinn. We don't know because we haven't had that information yet. Maybe they're still investigating that stuff. We don't know. But no, they don't have to have the shot with the recoil. And here's the other thing. All of the footage that we've seen on the internet of Charlie getting shot from cell phones, that is the trash footage that the FBI didn't want. There could be very good footage, whether it be from the TPUSA cameras or other people just happened to turn around and saw this guy peering over the edge of the roof. There could be very good footage of Tyler taking that shot. I'm not saying that we can zoom in and see his face. Maybe they can with those 4K. If there happened to be one of the TPUSA cameras that's pointing up in that direction, depending on the focal length, depending on the aperture setting, they could have all that stuff. We don't know. But what I do know is that there was so much evidence that the defense needed several more months to go through the voluminous amount of evidence that they have on Tyler, and they're still collecting evidence. Mm-hmm. So 3 months ago, when this happened, the amount of evidence that they have was voluminous, and now it's probably double that amount. So a lot more is coming, folks.
Can I just issue a quick challenge
Sure.
to the audience, particularly those of you in the audience who don't think that Tyler Robinson did this himself? If you don't think he did this himself, I'm going to give you a name. I want you to spend some time researching one name, okay? Ermia Fanayan. Maybe SK, you can drop the spelling of that name into the chat if you don't mind.
I will.
Because look, you guys are supposed to be some of the best internet investigators that the planet has ever seen. You've come up with some of the wildest, craziest conspiracy theories in the world. You've investigated everybody and their mom. Go investigate the name Ermia Fanayan and tell me what you find. Spend some time doing that and see the network that exists out there connected to the organizations and the people and the furry community that go right back, directly back to the Discord and the Reddit channels where Lance Twig was hanging out in.
Yeah.
Well,
Do it.
And that's what I was trying to point out earlier. I wanted everyone to know we obviously all believe that Tyler Robinson pulled the trigger and shot Charlie Kirk. The investigation that we've been doing has been on the back end and on a larger scale of how we got here and how this happened and this radicalization pipeline, because we have a radicalization pipeline that your tax dollars are paying for, including foreign exchange students, including refugees, including immigrants, including all of these things. And these people are being radicalized and then they're being rewarded and they're being put through this pipeline and they all go through the same pipeline and they all do the same activism and they all get the same type of awards and funding. And that is the issue right there.
That's right.
There we go.
That's right. Look, folks, Kash Patel made a comment, a couple weeks ago, when he was asked about whether or not they're still investigating other people associated with the assassination. Do you guys remember that? Nam, do you remember what he said? No comment.
Yep.
Why do you think he said that?
Well, but he was also asked, do you have any reason to believe that anybody at TPUSA had anything to do with it? And he said outright no. And then he was also asked, do you have any information or any evidence that makes you believe that any foreign governments or anybody associated with foreign governments were involved? And he said, not that we have seen. So he's answered those questions. But when asked the question, are you still investigating, this whole angle here? And he said, no comment, because the investigation's ongoing. Folks, this is a male. Okay. This is not a female. This is Ermia Fanayan. This is not a female. This is a male. And Ermia Fanayan helped found one of the first. So one of the interesting things that happened in the Antifa, Trans-Tifa crowd is somewhere right around BLM timeframe, they recognize that it doesn't serve them well to be anti-gun, to be anti-Second Amendment. Now they are full-blown all about the Second Amendment, and they intend to use the Second Amendment in their revolution when it's required. So I want everybody to understand that. So Ermia Fanayan was one of the first radical Trans-Tifa activists that is trying to get the Antifa movement to stop with the attacking the Second Amendment and understanding that they must use these weapons and these firearms and these guns if they hope to be successful in their revolution. They're not messing around anymore, folks.
And someone in the comments just said, I studied her and Elizabeth Warren. It's bigger than that. Listen,
Oh, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what we're trying to tell you. There
Yeah.
are tens of thousands of organizations involved in this network. There is a pipeline, a radicalization pipeline. There are organizations like Utah Global Diplomacy. There are foreign exchange students that Governor Cox went out loud and said, we want to bring these people here and we want to keep them. And these are the radicals that they're talking about. Ermia Fanayan was given an award by Utah Global Diplomacy. She pushes the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Charlie Kirk was completely against all of the UN Sustainable Development Goals stuff because Utah is the center of the UN in the United States. It's not New York, people. Wake up. Look at Utah. Look at ranked choice voting. Look at your own states. Look at what's going on in your states. Look at your county comprehensive plan, your city plan, these smart cities. This is all language coming directly from the UN. The United States is being played like a puppet from the UN. And this is where the radicalization pipeline's coming from, including Tim Shriver, the Dignity Index that Governor Cox was pushing. The second Charlie Kirk was on the ground, his body wasn't even cold. And Governor Cox was out pushing the Dignity Index. And just so you know, Tim Shriver is a Kennedy and his dad is Sergeant Shriver, who started the Peace Corps. So let that sink in.
And I want to say that Governor Cox, and the more I thought about it, the less I think it's an accident, put out a lot of bad misinformation when he was in that very first. He's the one that said, oh, he disassembled the rifle. Like, there was a bunch of things there that maybe it was just misspeaking, but there's some weird things going on with Governor Cox for sure, and definitely some weird things going on with the state of Utah that we, again, folks, this is going to be an easy 10 episode thing.
It's the next year.
Yeah, there's so much stuff to cover on all of this, how deep this goes, and I hope all of you tune in and make. I don't care if you agree with us or disagree with us. Listen to the information. Play that. Juxtapose that against reality, what we're telling you, and then just decide for yourself. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly. And remember, Charlie Kirk made it clear publicly multiple times that he was not a fan of Governor Cox and that Governor Cox needed to be kicked out of the Republican Party. There's also a lot of controversy going on in Utah over the elections because ranked choice voting was pushed in Utah. And there are a lot of people in Utah that think that Governor Cox did not come by his seat honestly. And I'm not going to speculate on that or say anything definitive about that. But you should look into that. There are a lot of things going on in Utah, and Charlie Kirk was very, very vocal. Their water, all of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the Chevron stuff, the Mitsubishi stuff. There is so much stuff in Utah.
I have a hard time reconciling Governor Cox's stance on the LGBTQ and the trans movement, his stance on that compared to, I know a lot of folks that are LDS. I know what their beliefs are. Like, that doesn't make sense to me, but we can say that for another show for sure.
It's the interfaith stuff. Just keep that in the back of your mind. It's the interfaith stuff. And the Mormons, unfortunately, a portion of them, specifically the Mormon Women for Ethical Government, are being used as a huge part of this push for this radicalization pipeline.
Right.
Interesting. Urban Angst says Candace is a traitor to every Jewish person who helped her career. All right, I'm going to push back a little bit on this because I hate this binary choice thing. I think, look, you can be suspicious of Jews. You can criticize Israel without being anti-Semitic and look, even if I worked for a Jewish organization and I decided to move on and speak out against them, that is not being disloyal or anything else. Look, I do think that Candace is anti-Semitic. I also think that she is part of this demographic that is hyper-focused on Israel. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. There's problems there. There's criticism there. They're not the biggest problem. They're not the most, they're not the most, I don't know, the biggest problem that we're facing, period. All right. Islam is a bigger problem than Judaism or Israel or anything else right now. All right. It's not Jews that are setting up entire cities like Dearborn. My dad lives in Dearborn Heights. All right. I've been through Dearborn. It looks like Iraq or something. All right. They're implementing Sharia law. There's a lot of craziness going on there. We see what's happening in Minnesota. That's not the Jews. And I know people say, well, you should see what the Jews do. They do this, they do that. Okay, whatever. I don't care. Like, American Jews are like the most diverse people that I know. Like, I know Jews that are extremely conservative. I know Jews that are extremely liberal. I know ones that are religious, non-religious, like everything in between. They're not our biggest problem. I'll just say that. But you can. Everybody has the right to criticize whatever they want. But I don't know. Like I said, there's nuance there. Why?
So that's where that's all. Just so I could jump in here real quick. That's exactly the point that Tucker keeps making in a lot of his episodes. Is we, as for some reason, as a planet, it's perfectly okay for folks to say, if one Jewish person did this to me, it's all the Jews, right? It's all the Jews. And he is ardently opposed to this concept of blood guilt, where just because you're Jewish, you're guilty, or you're Palestinian, you're guilty, or you're black, you're guilty, right? It doesn't allow for any diversity of thought, opinion, of ideology, anything. And that's the position that I was reacting to with Tucker, that he is being taken out of context in very significant ways. It's an absurd notion to say that if you say something bad about Ben Shapiro, that you're a traitor to Jews. What the hell does that even mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. Why are y'all so focused on it though? Why is Candace so focused on it? Oh, because he was my best friend. Oh, that's a lie.
I'll tell you why I'm focused on it.
I will let you go right after this. I think this is the biggest threat that we have in the United States right now. If we have to freaking fight over what's true, and you're telling me that facts aren't facts, truth isn't truth, lies are truth, up is down, down is up, that's a real problem. And this Psyop is so dumb, so silly, and yet so effective. If we don't start waking up, again, we're going to have somebody in the near future. Candace is just a mascot for much more to come. And if she can be this effective with just utter nonsense, like, we are in a world of hurt, and we are going to lose our country over this. This is fourth generation warfare. America needs to wake up. And I can't tell you how important it actually is. I can't overstress it. Go ahead.
This is the color revolution, folks.
Yeah.
This is the color revolution, and it is our responsibility to leave a legacy for our kids. Why do I care about this? Because I care about the future of my children and their children and their children. Until Jesus comes back, I care about their future. This is the color revolution. And if we don't deal with it now, like SK says, they are literally on the 2-yard line, first and goal, getting ready to walk into the end zone. And you are going to lose your country. And it's going to happen next year if we don't get our arms around this.
All right. Marcia Le Magnifique. I should ban you just for this silly French name. Just joking, Marcia.
Well, they're going to surrender again. Don't worry.
Where did she say Mormons killed him? When did she say that Jewish donors kill him?
I don't care.
Where did she say have those people kill him? She hasn't. She has. She said it directly and indirectly. I'm not going to participate in this mental illness. When you're going to sit there and insult my intelligence and tell me, oh, I've never actually said that when you sit there and say, oh, the Jewish donors were saying this, and then you say, I know that Israel was involved. All right, that's a direct link. All right, maybe some of you candy cultists can't wrap that through the mush between your ears, but for the rest of us that have working brain cells, like, we understand what she's trying to say, and I'm not playing this game. You're insulting my intelligence. You're insulting everybody's intelligence, and she has. And you guys are welcome to add.
I just want to say one thing, and then we can move on from this. That's a sock puppet account right there.
I wouldn't doubt it. But unfortunately, there's a lot of real sock puppets out there that are candy cultists that say the same thing. Possibly the biggest tactic I have seen is a bunch of kindergarten cop nobodies attempting to discredit or minimize the very real expertise of those challenge the Candace narrative. Perfect examples: Gary doesn't know ballistics, Robert Barnes doesn't understand taxes, so on and so forth. And Andrea Burkhart doesn't know the law. When she was on the show, so many people were saying she doesn't know what she's talking about. No, yeah, it's so dumb, it's almost not worth addressing, but you're right. If she's lying, who cares? What? Does that even make sense to you?
Why are they so defensive of her? I don't understand. What makes them to be so defensive?
Let me clarify this. She was responding to, I'll tell you, I pulled this up because here's who these person. Why are people focusing on Candace so much? If she's lying, who cares? And then this person, Nikki, was rightfully challenging her on that. Lies matter, right? And this is what the truth matters. And this is exactly what Charlie Kirk was out there doing. Like, that was the same argument that we heard about the trans movement and the LGBTQ movement. Like, just let them live their lives. Who cares if they want you to call them a him or her? Like, no, language matters a lot. And we're not going to participate in the lie. And if they're lying, who cares? I care. A lot of other Americans out there cares. If they can change fiction into truth, we're done for. It's super important. Matter of fact, there's nothing more important than that. You guys comment on it.
Well, I mean, we've seen them try to do this on so many fronts. They did it on the George Floyd front, on the BLM. We saw how effective that was. They did it under COVID. Everything they told us about the vaccine, everything they told us about all of the mandates, the 6-foot distancing, everything they told us about the election, everything they told us about Russian collusion. All they want to do is make you believe that what is up is down and what's down is up. And we can't continue to play this way. We can't. We cannot operate as a functioning society when we can't even agree on what is true and what is not true.
We've already ceded way too much ground, and that's why we're at where we're at. We should have cut this shit off years and years ago. And again, we as conservatives, we're kind of like live and let live. And we sat back and we're like, oh, this isn't affecting us. We'll leave it alone. And then until it is affecting us, and then it's too late. So like, we got to start drawing the line much sooner than we have in the past. Roman Katzman says, Scouts out. A 19 Delta in the house. Thanks for your service, buddy. Israeli spy valves also. I don't know what you mean by spy valves. Not a term that I'm familiar with. Do you guys know what this person's saying?
No idea. No.
Craftsman, clarify, buddy. Thank you for the super chat, though. We appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for the support. Good show. Candace got to go. America first. I think that's like a bumper sticker or a shirt. Good show. Candace got to go.
There you go.
That is being concise.
We need to put that on a. There you go.
Can you teach me?
We need to put that on a maroon shirt. Might be a clue where Candace Owens' motivations are. Is she didn't have these investigations after the TC incident. That's a clue. The fact that she's never went to UVU is a clue. The fact that she's never had any experts on. The fact that she hasn't talked to multiple eyewitnesses is a clue. The fact that she takes all of her tips from her tip box, and that's what evidence is. It's probably being fed to her by MI6 and God knows what other foreign intelligence agencies, and George Soros types are just filling that box full of goodies so that she can pull out and talk about Egyptian planes and Mitch and Wachuca.
Yep.
Can I say one thing real quick? I
Nope.
know this has gone way
it's over
over.
with. That one's
said
gone
no.
already. Go
love
ahead.
you.
Go ahead. I'm just
No,
joking.
go ahead. You go ahead.
No. I was totally kidding. Go ahead.
No, because sometimes you have to tell me to shut up.
No, I wouldn't do that. Send it.
You can though.
That's okay. I wouldn't.
Now I don't remember what I was going to say.
Good. Let's move on.
I was talking about the fact that she's never left the studio.
Oh, the plane. There is a plane.
Plane.
There is a plane that you should look at.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's involved. I don't know. But I do know about the UN SDGs, and I know about a lot of the defense contractors and things that are there. And the only plane she seems to not talk about is the one that comes and makes a circle over the lake and then leaves and then comes back and makes another circle. And it just happens to be a Leidos plane. So if you don't know that name, look it up.
That's the drone people, isn't it?
We'll have to do a whole show because I don't know what's going on there. All I'm saying is chemtrails. Chemtrails are real, folks. We've had Dane. Oh God, what's his name?
Hey, folks.
Anyway.
By the way, there's nobody on any of these platforms that drops crumbs better than SK does.
Awesome.
She just dropped you a crumb. If you feel like diving into something, go look into that.
Because I'm not concise and I can't shut up. So
you're not good at keeping gifts a secret, are you? Glenn F6639, thank you for the super tip. I'm hoping that your real name with those female lips is not actually Glenn. Thank you, Gary. We are here fighting, so please continue what you're doing. We need you. Well, thank you very much. And the same goes for all of you guys. I'm so glad that there are people like you out there that aren't afraid. Look, this sucks. There's nothing fun about this. I could stay out of this and go about my merry way, not get death threats, not get doxxed on X, and just live a happy life. I could be doing gun stuff, which I'd rather be doing. And I know you guys are in the same boat. This is something that I don't know about you guys, but I feel compelled to do. it'd be easier not to do. And I can't let it go. I think it's so important. And, I can tell by all of your passion that you guys feel the same way.
That's right. Totally agree. There's nothing
Yep.
else that we were uniquely created for this, folks. This group of
Like
people
all of
and
us.
all
Everybody.
of you guys. Imagine spending 3 hours on a Friday night listening to a podcast with a bunch of people talking about conspiracy theory, crazy people. Like, we're uniquely created for this particular moment and this particular fight. So if the left thinks that we're just going to stop and back down, we ain't doing it.
Yeah.
We're not going
Mhm.
anywhere.
Keep
Sorry.
the threats coming. Whatever all the sock puppets in the world, whatever, like, keep throwing at us. Nothing's going to stop us. We're going to keep moving forward. I don't care. Like, you're not going to stop us. The fact that we have to sit here and spend 3 hours trying to convince you that a Fort Huachuca assassination meeting happened at a conventional armed forces place where they were going to conduct a clandestine operation to kill U.S. citizen on U.S. soil didn't happen. Like, we should have been doing this years ago. If I have to convince you that's nonsense while it's being told by Mitch Snow, like, we are way behind. All right, we're losing the fight when we got to spend this amount of time trying to convince you that bullshit is bullshit.
Well, that's the entire point too, by the way.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong, and that's what the sock puppets do. Like, I realized real quick, one of the things that, besides algorithmically doing whatever they're doing, the other point is to eat up your time, actually responding to these people. And next thing you know, you're on a 3-hour X debate when you could have been doing something much more productive. It's to eat up your time, damage your credibility. Like, it's super cheap. It's super effective. Why wouldn't they do it? Dom C303, thank you very much. You were awesome. Folks,
hey, Patriot Source Podcast people, we got to figure out how to do that. We got to figure out how to turn the super chat on and get memberships and all that kind of stuff. So we'll do that.
Look, everybody here that are watching this, make sure you guys go support them. Make sure you go subscribe. I'll make sure I'll push you guys on X. Whatever I can do to help. We need to get you guys over 100,000 subscribers like next week.
Yep.
They deserve the support. Go share this content. Put it right up there. Please go and follow Patriot Source Podcast on YouTube. Like, get the word out. It doesn't cost you anything. Make it happen. And then, go support them as well.
We're on Rumble also, by the way.
Rumble as well. Rumble's I don't know. I'm a little sad about Rumble. We must fight for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. How can we help you with this fight? Look, you guys are. And just like I said, spreading the content, getting in the fight. Don't just sit there on X. And look, the same thing that the sock puppets are doing artificially, everybody out there that believes in what we're telling you could be doing that the same thing. You could be going to Candace Owens and saying, this isn't true, and here's why. Like, those little things matter. And where that leads, look, that's the gateway drug. Next thing you know, you're getting in the fight, you're involved, you're reading up, you're making sure that you know what's going on, and you're more educated than your opponents. And the next thing you know, you find yourself starting a podcast and spreading the truth. That's what we want you to do. All right, this is the gospel. This is today's gospel. We want you to go, look, hopefully you guys are in church, you're saved. That's great. This is the other gospel. It's the truth. And we need to push it because lies are winning right now. They're winning. So
can I add one thing real quick before we move on? The other piece of this, folks, is that we have senators and Republican congressmen who appear, and we can talk more about this later, do another show on this, who appear to be actively engaged in this color revolution, or at least part of slowing the Trump administration down and waiting him out. We've got a huge segment of the Republican Party, the elected Republican Party, who are not doing what the American people elected them to do. That means some of you are going to have to run for elected office. You're going to have to get off your butts and you're going to have to engage. Some of you are going to have to throw your hat in the ring. And we need another Tea Party version overthrow of the established Republican Party to take it back. That's what we have to do.
We got to get rid of the Lindsey Grahams. We got to get rid of the Mitch McConnells. And there's a whole bunch of them out there. Like,
well, it's even more important than that, because while we just spent 3 hours on this, and Patriot Dad, we spent an hour and a half on it, or 2 hours, I think, on it this morning. What we weren't able to talk about is early next week, there will be Republicans in the House that will sign on to a discharge petition that will extend the Obamacare tax subsidies for 3 years. That's going to happen. And because we're focused on this, we can't be holding them accountable in the House. They are going to extend the full Obamacare tax subsidies that the shutdown was just fought over. And we're not even going to be able to see it because we're worried about this garbage.
Oh,
watch, you're going to do it.
Let me pull this back up. Look, we have, I know it's so up here on StreamYard, it gives me the total people watching from X, YouTube, Instagram, and Rumble. And it's almost 5,000. We're at 4898. So we got almost 5,000 people watching this right now. Most of you have not liked. And folks, I'm telling you what, the other thing these sock puppets are doing are downvoting our videos hardcore. These are like the least, like I'm getting into the high 80s, which were normally in the high 90s, 98, 97% likes. Like that matters. You just hit that like button, hit and subscribe. It matters a lot. So if you guys will do that, that helps us out too. And of course, if you want to support us by becoming a member, helping us become a member over on X, you can become a subscriber over on X. All those things go a long way. So,
and can I add to this and just
Yes,
say,
ma'am.
get involved at your state and local level. Follow people on X like Data Republican. You can follow me if you want. I'm not in it for the likes and follows and clicks and all that. You can follow the podcast and listen to what we talk about, because we will expose this network to you so you can know what to look for in your local, state, and federal government, because these UN things are being implemented across the entire United States, in your state, in your local government, in your city. It's happening under your nose and people don't even recognize it. You have to get involved.
Yeah, folks, it's the same pattern everywhere else. It's easy to, once you see it, you can't unsee it. So, and like SK said, like you got to get involved locally too. That was one of our mistakes, that my wife and I have definitely got more involved with local politics. We lost sight of how important that was until about a year and a half ago. Some things happened locally. We're like outraged. And we're like, how can that happen in this small conservative West Virginia town? And it's because we took our eye off the ball. And all of this stuff matters. The left is participating. They're active in every aspect of this. They're passionate about it. They're beating us in every facet of this. And you got to get involved in every facet.
They have actual, what they call civic hubs. They have entire civic hubs in your local government that they are activists that are pushing these things. They are going and door knocking already. They have been for months. We are behind the 8 ball by a lot. You have to get involved locally.
Can I real quick, just saw a comment over in the comment section from @mysexylady8988. What episode to start watching if I'm new to all this? Episode 6. You can go back to the beginning, but episode 6 is where we really start laying this stuff out.
Yeah, just go watch them all. Like, just so you know that you're not missing context. I mean, it's worth your time.
Yeah,
So-
folks, I don't know if you know this, but this group of people, Nam, SK, and I, we're the ones who debunked the entire Katie Johnson hoax. You know, the Epstein files, Katie Johnson. We're the ones who exposed the fact that Katie Johnson was, in fact, a Jerry Springer producer named Norm Lubbo. Like, that's the type of content that we have from episode 1 on through. Like, that's what we do. We investigate this stuff deeply. We're the ones who exposed the Project 2025, the People's Guide to Project 2025, the lie that everyone is still convinced that Donald Trump is going to use Project 2025 to disrupt the government and put people back in slavery. Like, that's the type of content that we've been doing for years. Go watch all of it. It's fantastic. I watch it still because I think it's good.
Yeah. And look, if you don't have a lot of time, you don't have to sit there and watch the whole time. Put in some earbuds, go about your day, listen to what's going on. If you're crazy like me and you're trying to go through a lot of content, 1.5 times speed is great too. 1.25, whatever works for you. Just get it, put it into your brain, think about it, and pay attention to what's going on. Patrick Vincent, thank you very much, buddy. Keep up the good work. Patrick, I see you in the comments regularly. And again, I just we appreciate. I love seeing these people over and over again, and again, multiple super chats and all those things. So it's not. I'm watching. So thank you. Of course, we love Disney Up, Boiler Up, longtime follower, big time supporter. Thank you, Disney. Girl power. That's some SK love right there. So do we know for a fact George Farmer wanted to be CEO of TPUSA, or are we just making false claims like the candidates?
It's been alleged.
I've never said that because I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it. Go ahead.
We've got well, we'd have to dig it out of one of the episodes. We actually have a screenshot where it's discussed. I don't remember the exact context, but he did want to be well, at least
It's
the
alleged.
information we have said that it's allegedly he wanted to be the CEO of Turning Point.
Well, and it makes sense because Candace Owens is on
just that to be true.
there, and there's also conversation that Candace Owens did when she was caught on camera talking about how she was surprised that TPUSA did not assign an interim CEO to allow Erica to go properly grieve. So clearly she was thinking about the fact that somebody else should be in that position. The question is who, and I think there is some pretty substantial allegations that it was in fact George Farmer that they were angling to try to get into that role.
Emma Richards says, this is timely. I commented on one of your ex posts. You must have misread it. You said I was bot and blocked me. Several people commented telling you I was agreeing with you. Please unblock me. That's exactly what a bot would say. I'm just joking. Look, Emma, if I did that, I will fix it. Shoot me an email, dlpodcast@paramountTactical.com. I will fix that right after this show. I apologize. Look, as I'm going through there, sometimes my reading comprehension probably isn't that great. I'm moving quick. So I apologize, and we'll make that right to you. Thank you very much, and please forgive me. And I mean that genuinely. The Candy Cultists are going hard after Erica, from planning Charlie's assassination to trafficking children in Romania. Yeah, look, this has been a huge smear. And again, quit insulting my intelligence when we say, oh, you're claiming that Erica was part of the Charlie Kirk assassination. And then your stupid reply is, oh, we're not actually saying that. We're just saying that she was at the hotel where we're alleging that the assassination plot was taking place. Like, quit playing games with me. Like, just stop. It's dumb. But yeah, no, they are doing that. And they're doing everything they can between memes. Like, the level of vicious and malicious accusations and other smears that they've done to Erica, questioning her every move, like, to me, it's just so disgusting and so
With
disappointing.
zero proof. You're dragging people and ruining reputations with zero proof at all. No evidence. That's my issue.
All right, Diligent Denizen. One of the biggest, them and Project Constitution, probably one of the biggest fraudulent and grifting accounts on the face of the planet. Look, Patriot Dad had some run-ins with him today too. You're absolutely right.
If you want to get taken apart piece by piece by piece, dismantled in ways that I don't even think he was prepared for, go watch the podcast that we released today, episode 37, about the last 35 minutes of it.
Join the club. We all got blocked today. He must have gone on a blocking spree, because if his investigation skills are what they are using for Candace Owens' podcast, they might as well go to the zoo and have zoo animals investigating, because the guy thought that a fake account, a spoof account of Patriot Dads in Brazil was actually Patriot Dad.
He knew better, because he sent me a message in my DMs back in March telling me he was going to meet me at a protest I was hosting here in Columbus, Ohio. And then he intentionally lied to his entire audience by saying that I'm not American because he found a fake clone account based out of South America. He lied and he intentionally defamed me. That's what he did. And that's what he does to every single person that he tries to question him. He defamed me
on a daily basis. Him, Project Constitution, also known as Colin Phillips. He's about 400 pounds and the biggest piece of crap I've ever seen. But anyways, I digress. Susan, thank you very much for that $10 super sticker. JT Willie, thank you very much. We appreciate you. The narrative is always supposed to be that Charlie Kirk shot by leftist trans. People didn't buy it. She didn't take the bait. Narrative got diverted, is why people like Alex Jones are going crazy. Somalia is a psyop. Okay.
Can I just real quick?
Sure.
Marcia. So I think she's been up here 4 times.
Yep.
So she has sent you $40 just to send conspiracy theories. Imagine that, $40 or more just to be able to pump conspiracy theories. Hey, if you want to send me $40 just to lie, go ahead. You can send it to me. I'll take it. That's insane.
You know what? The only thing better, the sock puppets or sock puppets with the credit card. They're probably
there you go, man. That's a pretty good racket.
Forgot taxation without representation. Hell, we don't even know where our taxes are spent. It must be time for a major change. I agree.
We need a tax holiday forever.
February. What is your opinion on Bongino and his work at the FBI charging or not charging deep state actors who do, and do you believe the Epstein offed himself? Look, I believe that it is most likely that Epstein did not kill himself. We talked about this a little bit earlier. I think we covered that enough. I think everybody's opinions of Bongino have been put out there. And
Can I say one thing about this?
Sure.
Go take a look at Bill Barr's connection to Jeffrey Epstein, going all the way back to Jeffrey Epstein and his very first job working at a private school when he first came out of college. I think it is about 50-50 whether or not Jeffrey Epstein killed himself or if Bill Barr, who by the way was the director of the CIA, I think not once but twice. Or no, I'm sorry, he was the Attorney General twice.
Yeah.
Attorney General. There is a very long history between Bill Barr and Jeffrey Epstein. And I think if there's one person who had opportunity and motive, it was probably Bill Barr.
And we could talk about Mossad all that we want and Jeffrey Epstein. There is zero chance that Mossad was running that operation without the full knowledge, participation, and oversight of the CIA.
That's right.
With as many people, heads of states, and many VIPs that are important in American society, from scientists to actors to everything else that were going out, trust me, CIA was all over that island. CIA was all over Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe Mossad was involved too. I think there's a lot of times that, and again, I couldn't care less about Israel or Mossad. I do think that a lot of times the USA in our intel community uses Mossad as a scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
And again, listen to me closely. Zero chance that the CIA, if that was what it, well, there's zero chance that the CIA didn't have full intelligence oversight over what was happening at that Epstein Island with the people that Jeffrey Epstein came in contact with, his phone, all his other properties all over the United States. Zero chance that the CIA didn't have full oversight of that. So just let that sink in. So we can talk about Mossad all you want.
That's facts right there.
That's
Just
facts.
saying. Also, those people that are not supposed to be operating on U.S. soil probably have not been following the rules.
Yeah.
Not probably.
Naomi Spicer, 45th, became a YouTube member. Thank you very much. We appreciate you guys. Curious what your guests think of Valhalla VFT content.
We'll watch it.
If you guys want to talk about that, look,
I
don't know anything about him.
I will say, I was flipping through YouTube one day because I don't watch Candace Owens on a regular basis, and I had watched a couple of her episodes throughout this Charlie Kirk thing. Every now and then I click on one while it was live and watch it, and Valhalla popped up after, and I thought, this guy seems pretty rational. He was talking about the ballistics actually the day that I found him, and he was saying that he has buddies and people that he knows that have told him and explained to him how it could be possible to be a 30-06. And I thought, this guy's taking in all the information, and it seems like he's being neutral and just putting out the information. And I really respected him for that. And then I clicked on him again like a few days or a week later, and I was like, what is this? This is not what I saw. And then apparently, I guess he's kind of come back around. I don't know. I don't watch him, but the one time I did watch him when he was talking about ballistics at the very beginning, he seemed very neutral and like he was taking in all the information and experts that he knows personally that were telling him it's possible. But then it's like he pivoted. I don't know. I don't know what to think about the guy.
I was that buddy. So look, Nate is a friend of mine. I also think this is, I don't know if this person's a bot, but I've seen there's a concerted effort to drive a wedge and to start shit between me and Nate. We know each other. We've worked together on stuff. We've had each other on our channels. I disagree with Nate on many different instances. I applaud Nate's courage to go hard and to debunk what happened with Fort Huachuca.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave it at that. Like, we disagree with each other, but I like Nate. We'll continue to be friends, and I don't know. We'll just leave it at that. He called me up one day pretty upset about a comment that he pulled up that was sent to him, by the way. It wasn't shit talking at me. It was just laying out some facts. And he called me up. He was like, hey man, what's going on with this? I'm like, well, what I said was factual. It wasn't shit talking to you. It is what it is. And I was like, look, there's clearly a effort to drive a wedge between you and I and to go at each other's throats or whatever else. I get comments all the time, shit talking about you, trying to get me to agree to things, and I just won't do it. And I'm like, Nate, just realize what's going on. He's like, yeah, you're right, man. He's like, yeah, I've been having the same thing happen to me in my chat and everything else. I think that's part of the Psyop. And it's just not going to happen, folks. Nate and I disagree. That's okay. We can be friends. I like Nate. We approach things differently, and we'll just leave it at that. But I do think that's part of it. And I'm not saying that you, Philip Escobar, is that, but you're giving me the vibes, bro. I'm getting the feels and the vibes. You're now asking, instead of asking me, you're asking like you want our guest to shit talk him. That's fine. Gary,
I wouldn't. I don't know him.
I mean, I literally just told you the truth. I'm as
Yeah,
transparent
no,
as people come. I had no idea, and that's how I feel. I felt like he was talking about the ballistics, and I was like, oh, he's taking in both sides and giving
I think the
information.
stick here is they're going to pull a clip and send it to Nate or a comment or whatever else. And probably, look, I've had the same thing done to me. I've been sent multiple clips where he's being critical of me. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't care. Like, cool. Like, we disagree. Who gives a shit? And I think that's what's going on here. If that's not what you're doing, Philip, and you're a real person and you're not trying to stir up shit, then whatever. Gary asked you the other day, but you hadn't seen it yet. Did you see any of the Wolves in Finance about Tyler Boyer? Abby, thoughts, would love to know. No, I still haven't watched that, Melissa. I do plan to watch it. I've been busy. A lot going on. It's not a war crime the first time. Okay.
Oh, we're talking about the double tap, huh? Great. Thanks, guys.
Is the pipe bomber a patsy? I'll be honest with you. I don't know about you guys, but I lost a little interest with the pipe bomber after the whole body scan, freaking body mechanics. Like, I was like, oh, this is junk science.
Gait analysis.
There you go.
They got the dude.
Yeah.
It's the right guy. He admitted it.
The question is, I think what they're asking is, yeah, they got the right guy, but was he put up to this? And this goes back to some of the other things we're talking about. What we don't know is who helped him? Is there some other things going on behind the scenes? I don't think we have those answers, right?
We don't have those answers yet, but there is some information that he's on the autism spectrum, and we'll see where that leads.
What's his only DNA that was on the roof?
Can I answer this one?
Oh, Marcia, you're working way too hard on down a daggone an entire show that's dedicated to the sock puppets trying to drive this. You have paid now $42 to continue to drive this.
Hey, Marcia, what are you doing? Hey, here's the deal. Go read the charging documents, and anything that is not yet in the charging documents, understand that you're probably not going to learn until trial.
Yeah.
So you're just going to have to wait.
Great comment. Why doesn't anyone ask Candace why she is the first investigator in the world allowed to investigate her boyfriend assassination? I did, and I got it on audio. 10 minutes. She says, I will recuse myself from this conversation.
She should recuse herself from the entire investigation.
Yeah. The connected look. What from Candace's past, besides being a talking head, like, gives her any skill set, experience, knowledge to do anything from an investigation standpoint? Like, and I don't think you need to be especially skilled to do any sort of investigation. I think anybody can go out there and do it. But there's some logical steps. Like, I don't know, going there, getting your ass out of your studio, getting multiple people in there that were there to ask questions, not completely brush off any sort of contradictory evidence. Like, the fact is like, you have to present all the evidence to your viewers if you're going to have any honesty and integrity. And that's one of the things that is my biggest criticism of her, is she doesn't. She controls the information that her viewers get, and that is incorrect. There connects the dots. Pictures look like conspiracies and lies.
Well, there's a lot of conspiracies and lies in that picture, let me tell you. You're talking about the giant spaghetti monster of corruption. There's a lot of conspiracies and lies in that picture. So if you think it looks like lies, it's because they're lying to you about a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Have you tried to push your information to Glenn Beck and his people? He has lots of connections in Utah. Great
That's
question.
We've talked about Lisa Logan and Glenn Beck in previous podcasts. I think go back right before Christmas break. I think it's the 19th. No, what was it? It was that Tuesday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or Monday. So like the 22nd or 23rd, we did a show with Lisa Logan. It comes up. Yes.
Nice. Why did
I've been waiting for this question.
Why did MTG Marjorie Taylor Greene quit? That's bizarre. She was the biggest supporter of Trump. In my opinion, the America First movement is destroying the MAGA movement. They need to come together again. Gary, do you shoot PRS or NRL? Hunter, cool to shoot a comp with you. No, I don't shoot NRL, or I plan on getting into NRL this fall. Other things got in the way. I don't. I want to have time to compete more. I spend a lot of time teaching. I just don't have the time that I would like to compete. And yeah, that's it. I do want to shoot some NRL. I was actually scheduled to shoot the Major Land Sniper Cup, which I did shoot last year. And I forgot what came up. We had a major illness that we had to go attend to my wife's family. Her dad got very sick. We had to go down in Georgia during that time, and it was unfortunate. It was kind of a last minute thing that we had to pull out of that because we were going to support the event. We're going to do a bunch of other things up there. Anyways, long story short, I don't get to compete nearly as much as I would like. Anyways, go ahead on the rest of that.
So the story of MTG and why she left Congress is really not that complicated. It's really not that much of a scandal at all. She went to President Trump and said that she wanted to run for the Senate. And President Trump said, no, you can't. You won't win. You will not win a statewide race in Georgia. She's very popular in her district, but she is not popular in the state of Georgia. And with a slim majority in the Senate, endorsing MTG as the Senate candidate would have been a mistake. And Donald Trump said no, and she got pissed and she bolted. That's why she left. That's it.
Great answer.
There's nothing else involved. She wanted the Senate seat. Trump said, nope, you're not getting my endorsement. And she got butthurt and left.
Well, and then she tried to use the Epstein files as leverage to get him to endorse her.
That's right.
Thank you very much, Smash 710. Yeah, I would like to go shoot some PRS and some gas gun matches as well. Anyways, we'll see if we can get there and get time to do that. If you criticize Israel, but not other countries, if you are not making shows about what Muslims did on 10/7 or Muslims taking over cities in the USA, but make 10 shows about how oppressed Muslims are, you are anti-Semitic. I hear what you're saying. Look, I think there's some genuine Americans out there that have been convinced that Israel and really Jews are a major threat. And I do see that there's a hyper focus on them, maybe even some prejudice, if you will say. Here's what I don't like. I don't like, there is a part of the Israel lobby in the pro-Israel faction, whereas if you criticize Israel at all, they immediately call you anti-Semitic. I have a problem with that. And again, this is just being balanced and some nuance. And there are some people, look, there are people out there that only have enough bandwidth to kind of focus on what they want to focus. Doesn't necessarily make them anti-Semitic. I understand what you're saying. I think most of the people that do this for sure are anti-Semitic. I'm just saying it's kind of a broad stroke. And I do think there's some more nuanced arguments that we all need to, it's just not, again, a binary choice. You're either anti-Semitic or you're with Israel. Like there's some give and take there.
Well, I mean, I think you've got to have a little bit of discernment in this as well, right? I mean, being called a racist doesn't mean you're a racist. Being called a transphobic doesn't mean you're transphobic or Islamophobic. It's istophobic, right? We're getting to a place where, you know, if you say anything negative of Israel, that you're now anti-Semitic. Frankly, I don't care. I mean, you can call me whatever you want. I'm not racist. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not transphobic. I'm not Islamophobic. I'm just not stupid. Right? So I think they're devaluing those terms, frankly.
And conversely, you don't have to look, and there's so many now. There's the actual definition of Zionist, and then there's what everyone says.
Right.
Basically, when someone calls you a Zionist, it means that you're basically putting what they're inferring is that you have a loyalty to Israel above and beyond the United States. In the same way that I can say good things about Israel, and now someone calls me a Zionist, all right, that's also false. Again, Israel is a good ally. They are strategic in the fact that it allows us to project military force in the Middle East. There's some good things from that relationship. There are also things that we can criticize, and I think we as a country, whether it's Israel or other countries that we spend billions of dollars, like why are we still spending billions of dollars to the Taliban, even with the Trump administration? I thought that was one of the things for sure that would end. That's one of my criticisms of the Trump administration. Why are we spending money to the Taliban? All right, we left them several $1 billion worth of military equipment. It makes no sense to me.
Well,
I can't believe we've had
doesn't-
5 different presidential administrations that are still sending money to the Taliban.
Well, here's the problem. The president doesn't control that money, though. That comes from
Right.
Congress.
It
Congress
does.
allocates it. They pass it into law. So and rightfully so, if we're upset about where our money is going, it's not the president's fault. It's the idiots in Congress's fault.
That's a great point. I guess my point is I thought we would see President Trump putting some real pressure on Congress in those funds. We haven't seen that.
That's true.
That's very true.
They don't have to. They don't have to because we're talking about Candyland and her conspiracy theories.
Yep. Iran rejects Muslims in politics in New York City elections, and New York City elects them. I don't know if that's exactly correct. They're all Shia Muslims.
Judging by
tell
what's
the
going on in
Ayatollah
Iran,
that
they
he
may not
rejects
be in
Muslims?
power much longer.
I really don't understand what we're talking about there, but all right. I actually skipped one here. I'm still most mad at Candace for ripping apart her friend. Largest message, truth with facts and voting. I agree. The idea that, look, there's clearly animus between Candace and Charlie, deep-seated, that she's pretending is a friendship. There's not. All right. She hates everything he stood for. What was shocking was her New Year's post, 2025. What'd she say? It was a badass year. I don't even remember what she said. I could pull it up real quick, but no, even I wouldn't say 2025 was great. I was just a big fan of Charlie before he was killed, followed him religiously, huge fan. And even I wouldn't say and I wasn't friends with him. I didn't know the guy, never met him. And I would, before I wrote anything like that, I would say, you know what? Not that great a year. We lost one of America's greatest voices ever. So there's a real disconnect between her words and her actions. And I think people just need to, she shows up to every new episode, giddy as can be. Oh, today we're going to talk about the death of Charlie Kirk, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. And wait till you see this Mitch Snow guy. We're going to tell you about Fort Huachuca and the secret mission that they planned to kill Charlie. Isn't this going to be fun? Oh, look at that. A $500 super tip. There's a disconnect there. Significant proof. TC has taken big money from Qatar.
Tucker Carlson,
yeah.
Don't you think that has influenced his commentary? I don't know. Look.
Is there proof?
I don't think people are.
I don't know if I've seen it. Is there proof?
I don't know that there's proof of that either. I don't think people are, especially someone like Tucker. I think you could put $1 million on the table, and I don't think it would change what he's saying. Now, he may take money because they're already aligned with them, or he may already buy into whatever is going on there. I don't know. I think there are definitely people out there that will change, that will adjust to whoever's funding them. I don't necessarily think that's Tucker, but I could be wrong. Donate to TPUSA and gift memberships to Paramount Tactical. Put your money where your mouth is. God bless. Thank you, Domsey. That's exactly right. You are the man. We appreciate all your love and support, buddy. Gary, when are you going to ask Canty to produce her alibi with proof? Post it, request her metadata as well. She needs to clear her name too. I don't want to play these immature games with her. I'm just going to continue to debunk her. I'm not going to play the same games. I just think there's a lack of integrity there. Just like, people are saying, oh, you should flood her inbox, her tip box with bullshit tips. I think that's playing dirty too. I'm not ready to stoop to her level. And I just never will. Thank you, Dom C. Another 10 Paramount Tactical memberships. Thank you. It was to add to the candy list. She called out the valve manufacturer guy early on and said there's Israel spy valves. LOL. I missed that one.
When you asked the person to clarify the spy valves. Yeah, I don't know what it's about though.
I still don't know what this question's asking.
We'll have to Google that one. We'll verify that and then add that to the list. Gary, do you have a Discord channel? If not, please make one. Keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate you. I don't have a Discord channel.
We do.
I don't know anything about Discord. And what is your guys' Discord channel? So everybody knows that are into Discords.
You put www.skdd.lol, like laughing out loud, in your Google search bar or whatever browser you use, and it should take you there. Go to the rules channel and click the green check mark to verify, and you're in. And I made a channel called Just the Tips, so we can have a tip box just like Candace Owens.
Folks, this Discord server, if this is the same one that SK and I and others have been building forever, you want to talk about a mountain of information that's been collected in this Discord server? Go check it out.
I've never even been on Discord.
It's actually pretty
It's the
cool.
worst. It's the worst thing ever. Don't listen to it. It's a lie. It's the worst.
There is literally years worth of research in there.
Type that down in the chat box so everybody sees that.
Yes, I'll do that right now. But I'm technologically illiterate, so I hate all technology and I hate it.
Fair enough. I had a $10 super chat that didn't get answered. Sorry, buddy. You know what? I'm going to scroll back up. Folks, if I ever skip your super chats, I promise you it's never intentional. I do miss some sometimes. Let me see if J-Dub is on here. No, he's not. Look, I will come back to it. I promise. I'm going to try to go through there. I apologize, cold-blooded Christian. I did see the information you sent me on X. I responded to that just so that you know. I will go back up and when we get to the bottom of this. I did hit one of your super chats earlier, cold-blooded. I don't know if you missed that or if I missed another one. Whitney Storms became a YouTube member. Thank you very much, Whitney. Whitney Stormy. Thank you very much. All of you guys, if you want to support us, go become a member. Go follow the Patriot Source Podcast.
Patriot Source Podcast.
There you go. Sorry, guys. I keep screwing that up. Karaoke, thank you very much.
We're not huge self-promoters. We suck at it, actually.
Hey, look, if you don't promote yourself, no one. I suffered that for many years. It sucks having to promote yourself. If you don't, no one's going to promote you either. If you don't believe in what you're doing, no one's going to promote you. So you got to just get over that and start practicing. Like, hey, go watch our channel. It's worth it.
Larry Maga, my man, Larry Maga, has been with the Patriot Source Podcast literally from day one. So thank you so much.
He was one of my TikTok followers. Well, still is. I just don't get on TikTok very often. He's the best. He's the sweetest. Love you, Larry.
Thanks for showing up.
We got to start. We have a TikTok account. I know we don't post on that very much. I need to get with the program. Thank you for another insightful discussion. Blessed to you all. Thank you, Becky Sibley. We really appreciate your support. Involvement is hard for patriots who have jobs. I know.
I have a full-time job.
And they know it. They know that, by the way.
They do know that.
Look, sorry, hold on a second. I mean, look, I hear what you're saying. I totally hear what you're saying, that we're busy people. I have a full-time job. I work probably 50, 60 hours a week. My wife is a stay-at-home mom and homeschools our 2 kids. I am the sole income provider for our household. And yet I still find time to do important stuff because it's important. Yeah. What you prioritize is what is important to you. I prioritize things that I think are important in my future. That's why I do it. Doesn't mean you have to, but saying I work is not an excuse to not get involved, because you can.
Look, the fact is that, again, conservatives, just our mindset in general. now I'm generalizing, but it's generally true because that's what it is. We stay so focused on our own thing. We're not looking at the outside nearly as much as everybody else does. The fact is one day you're going to put your head up and you're going to realize your country's gone and you're going to be forced to get involved. And by then it's too late. And I think that's the message. And the other thing that all of us do is we minimize our impact. And what we're doing actually, like, this YouTube channel, fairly large now. It's not small, which I'm so grateful to everybody out there. But even when I started, I was like, you know what? We're not going to reach anybody. This isn't going to matter. You know how many years I did a podcast every Wednesday night with like 30 or 40 people showing up? And looking back now, and I was terrible at it. Like sitting here talking to a camera, forget about, like, it was easier to do like pre-produced videos because you can cut some things out. Like you're just here live, and it's so difficult to just sit here and talk to a camera that doesn't respond to you. You're not feeding off a body language. You're just like, I don't know what to do with my hands. But then you have an audience and you're trying to pay attention to what they're saying. And, it's definitely a lot easier when we have guests. But the point is like, I didn't think that we would ever make a difference. And we're still not making the difference I'd like to make, right? But the more people that we get involved, and then I get emails and texts and DMs of all the people that we've had such huge positive effects on that I didn't ever think that we would have. So all you got to do is start somewhere. And maybe that's a post. Maybe that's, for those of you that are big into social media, like start a YouTube channel. The whole, like, I know it's scary. You're worried about people judging you. You're worried about people getting things wrong. You're going to get things wrong. You just got to start somewhere, and don't be afraid. Or look, I still get nervous up here. When I'm getting ready to start a show today, I was on InfoWars, super nervous. I was like trying to breathe and like calm myself down. Like, it doesn't go away, or at least hasn't for me. Once you get into the conversation, it goes away, and I don't feel nervous now, but definitely starting the show, very nervous.
I was super nervous.
Yeah.
He's always
Nervous.
Yeah.
I am. I don't like it. I don't like being on camera. I don't like the attention.
I don't like it either.
I don't like any of it. I don't know how I got here.
Well, you're doing great, SK. Keep doing what you're doing. You're making a difference. Why does Megyn Kelly keep defending Candace? You guys can take that. I don't have a good answer.
Care.
I'm not certain that she is defending Candace. I think she's defending her right to say whatever she wants, but Megyn Kelly has unequivocally said that they have the right guy, that she has no doubt in her mind that Tyler Robinson is the one who assassinated Charlie Kirk. So I'm not sure that she's defending much of anything.
Well, I think where people are frustrated is that Megyn Kelly's not defending Erica Kirk or calling out Candace for saying the horrible things that she said or insinuated.
I agree with that. That's fine.
With when it comes to Erica Kirk, I think a phone and a chat line incorporated into this type of discourse would be positively effective. Screening nightmare, yeah, most likely. I've liked all the videos on both channels. Everyone go like crazy. Just at least for me, logistically impossible. If I had 5 people back there manning a phone line, look, folks, it's me. My producer over there is sitting in an empty chair. Like, it's just me. It's literally just me down here doing what I'm doing. We're not InfoWars where we got a whole, 10 producers and people operating cameras. I do all of this stuff. I just recently hired a producer that is, he's not here. He helps me with other things. It's helped a lot, but maybe we'll get there. I would love to do that too from time to time, but it is logistically just not feasible right now. Thank you, Larry MAGA, too. We appreciate you. Gary just sent you an email linking to videos on the Lidos plane lake theory that SK brought up. Just FYI, I've got your 6. I know you, buddy. Werewolf 6, you're another one, man. I always see you in the chat. You're always supportive, and it goes a long way. It really does. Philip Escobar, the bot, says he's not a bot. Exactly what bots say, folks. No. All right, folks. I take your word for it. Appreciate y'all's content. I think Valhalla FT is grifting, was just curious what other people thought. God bless.
For the record, I feel like an ass, but that was my honest assessment. I'm as genuine. I'm the same person in real life that I am on the internet, and that was my honest assessment. I had no idea. Not a clue.
I don't know where that applause came from, but it was interesting. Maybe from JW. Anyways, look, what I've learned talking to other content creators is they have different approaches of how they do. Look, I had another content creator that I was talking to. It was like, hey man, is your beef with Candace just like WWE? Like, is this just like fake? You're like stirring up drama for fun? I'm like, what? Like, no. Like, I think she is a genuine threat to this country. What don't you understand about this?
That's right.
And I do think there are other content creators out there that kind of feed into this. Like, I wouldn't know. Like, there's nothing fake about it. I think this is a genuine threat, and this is why I'm here doing it. And I'd rather be doing something else. But, I've said all I need to say on this. So glad you guys got together to put this info out. Dream Team, love you, SK. Thank you, Brenda Jimenez. LOL, I'm a girl. I have a unique name that's easily searchable, so I can't post it, but I'm tough like a dude. LOL, love your content and appreciate all you do. Thank you, guests. God bless. Thank you, Domsey. Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that. I always thought you were a dude. Tucker bought a house in Qatar. He said Christians have more freedom in Qatar than in Israel. Look, I think there's some truth to some Christian suppression in Israel. I don't know. That's something I need to do a little more research on. Look, I'm generally pro-Israel. I guess. I mean, I just don't care about these other countries. I don't spend a lot of time on. I look at all these different countries very objectively, and my opinions of them are going to sway with what they're trying to do at the time, right? I mean, just like the opinions of my own country, the politics. Like, I'm kind of pissed off at my country, and I'm going to be very critical when there's a Joe Biden in here, and I'm going to be less critical when there's a Donald Trump in here. Like, if your opinions aren't changing about a country, a government, then you're not paying attention. It's not just all one thing or all the other. Like, I am critical. I do think that the war in Gaza could have been executed differently. But I also see the other side of it. Like, I would probably do the exact same thing if they came into my country. And like, we as Americans haven't had to face that other than 9/11, where, they come in, they kill over 1,000 citizens and then kidnap. One of the things I have said, I'm pissed off at even Trump's response to October 7th or Biden's response to October 7th. The fact that we had U.S. citizens captured in Israel, and if I was president, the very next day, we'd have like 10,000 tanks just sitting there idling at the border and be like, hey, guess what? If our people aren't back over on this side of the border in an hour, we're going through this place and we're leveling everything. And I would mean that, because that's what we need to do as Americans to get our people back. Like, nobody's getting out of here. So, and that's how you have to deal with terrorists. I'm just telling you right now, we project all of our own sensibilities, our morals, our beliefs onto people that don't think anything like us. They see the world completely different. I learned that really quickly in Iraq and Afghanistan. Like, projecting your own sensibilities on somebody else that grows up in a completely different culture and a completely different mindset, it is a fool's errand. It's like saying, you know what, there's this grizzly bear over here, and if I'm nice to him, he's going to be nice to me. And all he's doing is looking at you like lunch. And it's not how the world works. That's not reality. That's trying to create your own reality. And it's delusional, to say the least. So
yeah, it's a bunch of people who've been coddled in a very, very, very soft society, who don't understand that the rest of the world, and they're going to tell you how much they hate our society, but they have no concept, no understanding of what the rest of the world's really like at all.
They don't even know what this country's like.
100%. Look, folks, we're going to read 5 of the live comments or questions real quick, and then we're going to call it a night. We've been on here 3.5 hours.
I think Mom has to go to the potty also.
I see him squirming over there. Anti-social media was complaining about aggression in the chat. His handle is antisocial. Oh my God, how dare!
That's funny. Actually,
life
irony.
Irony. If you don't know about Israel, tell us in what way Candace is a threat to America. Well, I just said that she's perpetuating lies that are lies. She's tricking millions of Americans. I don't know.
Are these like serious comments sometimes? I
They're-
mean, like, surely
they're
that's not
probably-
for real,
They're
right?
probably sock puppets. Bots are just people with mush brains. Go listen to TPUSA interview with Megyn Kelly, and you will understand a whole lot more. She will answer that question. Okay, I will do that. I literally takes 2 seconds to Google it. The comment was about Tucker lying about how Qatar is nice to Christians. Was
I think
the
you just
point.
jumped into the middle of a conversation on this one.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm well aware. Con, one of our great moderators. Aren't you a moderator, Con? I don't see a wrench by it. If you aren't, we need to make one. SK double dub, you're okay. There have been many trying to make a divide between Gary and Valhalla. It's a non-issue. Exactly. No, I don't expect you to temper your comments.
Well, I had no idea. That was my honest assessment.
It's fair. You didn't say anything bad or wrong. When you name becomes a pronoun, you pull to Candace. I think Candace follower is going to be a pejorative in the very near future. Like, you're QAnon, which is probably one and the same. I know this is responding to Goose. Well, I'm okay with it. I think it doesn't even measure to the threat to the entire country meter. Whatever. Gary, please research the treatment of Christians in Qatar. I'm not sure how the heck buying a house there is normal. Yeah, that's something I'm not aware of. I don't know how they treat Christians. I'm completely ignorant on that matter. So it's worth looking into. I don't know. It's kind of irrelevant. I don't really care if, Tucker buys a house there. Jeff, I totally agree. There's people derailing the chat, but I'm telling you, just as an objective person, you guys are known as the Timeout channel. Hopefully you can find a happy medium. I don't care if we are known as the Timeout channel. I'm not here to look. We're going to have a orderly discussion. And if there are people in the chat that can't keep themselves from just talking shit and derailing the conversation, we don't need you here. Like, if you want to join the chat, I've said this, I mean this. I don't care if there's one person watching this channel or 10 million. You're going to get the same thing. We're going to have the same controls in place. You're not going to troll us. It's a privilege to be part of this conversation. We could have done this thing pre-recorded and not have to deal with the chat. And we can just go look at the comments later and delete those when they're stupid and or just trolling. All right. I do it all the time. If you're just here to talk shit, you're wasting our time. You're wasting the viewers' time. And we're giving you an opportunity to where you can engage with us directly. And we want to engage with you. We want to be challenged. And we want you to express your disagreements. But if you're just going to call us a Zionist shill or all the stuff, or just troll the chat, like, I don't care what you call us. I'm glad that we're known anything. Like, I'm just happy that that's the Timeout channel. Okay, cool.
Just be an adult. It's real simple. I tell people every day on TikTok when I'm debating, just be an adult. Don't report people. Don't be an ass. Just be an adult having a conversation. We can't get anywhere without actual adult conversation.
Last comment, whoever the mods are, they aren't on the same page as you. Look, I think there's going to be some issues sometimes, or some whatever. Again, the chat's scrolling fast. They're doing the best they can. It is what it is. And I've seen his comments multiple times now. Anti-social media dude. Look, Jeff Johnson is the most moderate, most, I don't know, lenient of all of our chat mods. And if he's saying that you're being you're spamming, then like, that's what it is. So, whatever.
Could you imagine going into the comment section of someone's YouTube channel on a live show, getting put in timeout, and then spending the rest of your time complaining about being put in timeout?
It's the same as TikTok. It's crazy. These people are crazy.
Like, we're in 4th grade, folks.
Right. Be an adult. Just grow
Be an
up.
adult.
Okay. Look, again, anti-social media XO. If you're put in timeout accidentally, we apologize. All right. Mods, try to be careful about that. If you're put in there for a reason, like, just realize you're put in there for a reason. So anyways, all right. There is one last super chat that Okay. Cold-blooded Christian also asked Candy why she doesn't start a GoFundMe to hire the best investigators in the world after what she did for Mitch. What do you think? And what should I do with the 10-minute audio of grilling her?
I'll take it.
Well, he kind of wants a large sum of money for it.
Oh,
I don't pay for information, Cold-blooded. If you want to share it with us without paying for it, we'll take it. We'll take a look at it, and I'll decide what to do with it. I'm not even sure that I would share it. You can email the Patriot Source Podcast. Maybe they'll be interested in there, but I don't know anybody that's going to pay, especially the number that you gave me. Anyways, so I don't know. Talk to you mentioned some other people that you want to get a hold of. I wouldn't give you personal contact information. I'm just being honest with you. If I had that information, so I would have you go through their normal channels, maybe talk to Tim Pool, some other folks. So
why don't you just post
and
it on social
I did cover
media?
this.
If
and you
it's
said I
worthy
skipped
of
that.
attention, people will share it. I mean, that's what I would do, but that's just me.
Yeah, and I did cover this chat earlier, but I think you missed it. Just I know you were saying I missed your chat, but I saw this earlier. Cool that you linked up with Alex Jones. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, it was. I mean, it was super cool to be on the Alex Jones show on InfoWars. All right, I'm slurring my speech now because I'm tired. I've talked too much. I'm tired of my voice. I'm sure you guys are too. Listen, folks. We got Patriot Dad, SK, Nom de Plume. Man, we really appreciate you guys taking the time to come on. I'm really looking forward to continuing this series, having you guys on as regulars and becoming part of the Paramount Tactical, and then continuing us along with other people, building a coalition of truth seekers, truth tellers. Really looking forward to that. And I appreciate all of your efforts, all the information, all the research that you guys have put into this. Thank you so much. You're doing the country a real great service.
Thank you for having
and
me.
Gary, we're going to bring you over to our channel a time or two, so you can see how we kind of put the sauce together, how we kind of make the sausage, just to get a sense of like how we approach these things differently, because I think we all have different approaches.
Sure.
But I'd love to have you over there here soon too as well. And, you know,
would love to come over, and you name it. If I don't have a conflict, be happy to do it. You name the time, I'll be there, buddy.
Excellent.
Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Again, thank you for having us, and your chat is amazing. I loved your chat, and I don't usually pay attention to the chat, and I enjoyed being in there. So thank you all in the chat. And I have serious imposter syndrome, so I can't even believe I'm here right now. I have no idea how this happened. So just thank
I'm
you.
going to throw this up here just so that you guys see this. S, you are beautiful. Something you have. I don't know, hearts you have, love you.
Oh, look, your husband was watching tonight, SK.
He was not watching. Don't even lie.
All right. What's the one thing that people, what do you guys want to leave each of you real quick, under 30 seconds each? What do you want to leave the world? What's your parting comments, information, advice to anybody out there?
Yeah, I'll go first. Listen, there's going to be a ton of distractions. It is incumbent upon us to make sure that we get the right people in Congress and the House and Senate, and President Trump does not get impeached in 2027. That's what you're watching. That's what this is about. Is all about the midterms. So we're going to have to do a lot of work in the next year. A lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, look, here's the deal, folks. I think it is time for us collectively to focus on the midterms. Collectively. That means we need to start talking about Trump's successes, about the agenda, about the things that we expect our Republican Congress and Republican Senate to do, and start demanding that they actually do it. And if they don't, then they need to be primaried. I'm sorry, but the Candyland cult is in the rearview mirror at this point. We have systematically dismantled their narratives, their conspiracy theories. We've shown you how they operate. We've shown you the digital warfare campaigns and the strategies that are being used to divide you. You just can't let them divide us. We just have to move on. We'll continue to debunk the lies that happen, that come down the pike, but I'm not spending a significant more amount of time. And I know Nam is sick and tired of talking about Candace. I'm not spending a significant amount more time. We've got work to do, and we want you guys to come along with us and do it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just want to say, I hope all of you guys had a happy new year. And I think that it's very important that we all center ourselves and get back where we need to be and focus on the fact that as Americans, the most important things are the Constitution, and we need to unite on the Constitution under the American flag as Americans, regardless of our political views. The most important thing is the Constitution. We would not be the United States without the Constitution, and we have to protect it at all costs. And we need to make sure that the Constitution remains and that it is upheld, regardless of who's in office. The Constitution is the most important thing on the planet. Presidents are given certain power. We need to make sure that the president's allowed to have that power, regardless if it's a president we agree with or not. The president has power that they should be able to wield. And that's not happening right now. I feel like the executive branch has been neutered, and we need to hold Congress accountable. So we need to primary the people that are not doing what we want them to do. And if there's no one running in the primary, you're up. It's time for you to run for office. It's time for you to get involved at your state and local level. And it's time for you to love your fellow American, regardless of their political views. I know it's difficult. It's very difficult. And I'm a smartass. I'm going to make smartass comments. That's just how it is. I know lots of us are. But we have to love each other as Americans and put each other as Americans and our country and Constitution first, period.
Sure.
Yep. I couldn't say it any better than any of you. Listen, folks, we really appreciate you tuning in tonight. You guys stay put, don't go anywhere. But folks, we really appreciate your love, your support. I appreciate the applause, whoever did that. But yeah, man, look, we're here because of you. And if it wasn't for you listening to us, we wouldn't be here. So again, we appreciate it. And yeah, we want you guys to have the best year ever. 2026 is going to be the year that we turn all of this around. We take our country back. We put our country on the right path. And until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.